Welcome back, everybody, to WCS Premier League Season 2. We're in the round of 32 Group B, where we just saw 2 matches casted by our very own Nathanius. We saw Stardust lose and come down to the elimination match, as well as Sen. Now, these are results that some people might say is expected with 4GG winning, but Stardust, not so much. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that the Stardust that's shown up here so far today isn't the WCS champion Stardust that we saw last year. The time that he's taken off and going through the paperwork to get his visa has clearly taken a hit on his play. Huck mentioned earlier his qualifier runs weren't particularly smooth either. He got in at the last possible moment. It's clearly shown in his play that he's not feeling as comfortable as he has in the last couple of seasons.
So, based off of what you just said, I mean, I talked to him as well. He doesn't seem to be feeling good about that first game at all. He mentioned that he actually felt embarrassed after that loss against Tudming. But my question to you, obviously he's not playing like the WCS champion. Is this just nerves, or is he just not the Stardust that we saw last year?
You know, even for someone as touted as skill goes, for someone like Stardust with the championships that he's gotten, the results that he's had, the time off, I feel, is the biggest thing for him. I imagine that as he spends more time practicing in America, practicing in a new setup back home, and getting more experience under his belt, really getting back into the swing of things, we'll see him slowly return to that former Stardust. But even the top Korean players need to be on their game 100% of the time if they want to perform at live events.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and he will be going up against Sen, who we just saw play against 4GG. And in that series, of course, he wasn't able to win. He lost 2-1, but the thing is, based on, you watched that game, you casted that series, how did you think of Sen's playstyle overall?
Well, I think Sen's greedy style can be really effective versus someone who plays a standard build. And it worked out very well to his advantage in the first game against 4GG. Even though he lost the drones, he was able to catch up with the fast fourth base and punish 4GG's micro mistakes later on to secure a very comfortable lead where he was able to knock down the fourth base and take it. That, of course, flipped on its head for the second and third game. 4GG did a really good job of changing up his builds to punish the greed of Sen. It's something that Stardust has to look out for, because Sen wants to play that longer game, where Stardust has already shown his weakness in the first series against Tudming.
Yeah, even just looking at their player cams, I sense a very different mood from both of them. I feel like Stardust seems a little bit almost confused as to how he landed in the elimination match.
Yeah.
Probably not what he expected at all. Sen, on the other hand, I just saw him talking to Tudming furiously. I'm no doubt about how Tudming beat Stardust and if he had any advice going up against him. So I feel like that should give him an advantage headed into this series.
Well, confidence is always nice, especially for Sen, who didn't play bad against 4GG. 4GG is the strongest player in this group. He's the guy that most people predicted to come out in first place, and I'm still cheering for my boy. So Sen, not really much to really bring down his spirits. Stardust is the one that has to say, this is a very realistic moment for me to be eliminated after moving all the way to the United States, settling himself down, getting that visa, and he could be finished as early as round of 32. I'm sure he didn't expect that. I'm sure he didn't want that coming into this.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot right now, Nate. Out of these two, who is the one that you predict to move forward based on their play style and what you saw today?
Sen's been playing more solid. If he can not be too vulnerable with the greedy play that he goes for, I think he's going to roll over in terms of the macro game. Stardust has to make some pretty strong plays early on if he wants to take this series.
All right, well, it's time to find out, will the previous WCS champion Stardust be able to keep his Premier League dream alive, or will Sen end that here? Huck and Greetstorp, take it away.
Thanks, guys. And as they said, a little bit of a bittersweet situation here with Stardust being in the losers, possibly out of contention for WCS Season 2. But it's sweet because I get to cast some Protoss with my good friend Huck.
Yay, yay. I don't know. I talked to Stardust. I think if he can calm down, he's going to do really well. I'll actually go out on a limb here and say that Stardust is going to beat Sen.
Wow. I a lot of times look at statistics of these players, and, Ligulac is a great resource out here for StarCraft. I normally only look at, like, the past 2 to 3 months because that's where the real practice comes in. That's where it's establishing how well you're doing in a lot of these builds. And if you look at a guy like Petraeus, who's played 70 series in the last 2 months, and then you look at a guy that like Stardust that's only played like 15. There's a big difference right there. I mean, Petraeus is the one that's putting in a lot of time. Of course, it's show matches, and Stardust could be the one, he's laddering up a lot, but chances are that he's not, because we saw him being very active at the end of 2014.
At the same time, how much do you think Sen's playing though? Do you have the statistics?
Sen's playing a lot actually in the Taiwanese league. I think he's playing around like 40 to 50 series in the last 2 months. So it is quite substantial for Sen. He is like I still think considered the underdog just because overall Stardust has a lot more high caliber experience than Sen at this point. But Sen's always been up there. He's always been a main contender, I think. Universally across all tournaments.
Yeah, it just really comes down to will Stardust learn from his mistakes. He played really well in Game 2 of the last set, and then Game 1 and 3, as Smick said, he was embarrassed. She was kind of eavesdropping on the conversation that me and Stardust were having, but I'll let it slide for now. But we went over the replays actually together, me and Stardust, and he knows the mistakes he made. He knew he was sloppy macro-wise, and he knew that he could play better. And I think in this series, we're going to see, if he can win this series, he has a real shot of making it out of the group, not just not being eliminated. So it's make or break for him.
One thing we were talking about with Sen and actually Tudming is the fact that they think that Stardust is really scared of gold bases, which if you're a Protoss in PvZ, you're banning maps like Vani Research Station though, which I think ordinarily, I mean, the gold base is scary, right? It's definitely a bad situation, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as Expedition Lost in terms of the gold base, like how aggressive you can be off of that.
Yeah, and he vetoed that map. Expedition is lost. Maybe he's just not in the mood to play.
Not having.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's really strange. I think Sen vetoing Inferno Pools. I don't think anybody really loves that map. But at the same time,
Zerg don't mind it. Man.
Yeah, you have this large ramp. You have a lot of options to be aggressive. It's kind of and it has a gold base.
Yep.
And it's a 4-player map. So I don't really understand that veto from Sen. But maybe he just hasn't practiced it enough. He doesn't feel comfortable, I guess.
It might be that comfort zone, and a lot of times, pro gamers are going to go to the things that they're most comfortable with. Go to the things that they're capable of playing their style and their brand of StarCraft as much as possible. And I mean, you can talk about that a lot because, like it makes a big difference if the temperature is different than your practice environment, or even like the desk height is, the right length, I would say. And when it comes down to actual gameplay, if you're playing on a map that you've never practiced before, that's like a huge disaster as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, both of these players have been in the scene a long time. Hopefully they can work through all their issues, and hopefully they're going to be able to bring their A game here. Because, I mean, I hate to keep saying it, but I don't think either of them want to go home eliminated from this group, especially last place. They both want to keep the dream alive, and I think they're both looking at playing Tudming next. And I both think they have a realistic shot at beating him, so we shall see.
I think so. But, man, I'm going to just say it, too, that 4GG is... he has shown that he is pretty mortal. I mean, games 2 and 3, they were a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought against Sen, and Tudming did look pretty good. So I am going to say that it's not completely in the bag for 4GG just yet, but its chances are looking good, and it looks like he most likely will be slamming out of this group with a 2-0 lead. But nevertheless, first map will be on Cactus Valley.
I'm loving this red background for Sen too. He's got the jacket. He's matched. He's all stylish. It's the Chinese and Taiwanese players today, looking very stylish.
I wish more jackets would be around.
Yeah, like the old team jackets and stuff. I miss the OGS jackets, man.
No, I mean back in 2003, the astronaut jackets.
Oh my gosh, I don't know about that. It seems like it would actually hinder your play a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. It just probably gets all sweaty and stuff. Back in the Brew War days, literally pro gamers would come out as if like, I guess they were trying to do like this futuristic, this is
like
gaming
future
world.
emperor of like some moon or something. They have their hair all styled. They have these big shoulder pads, kind of like Dragon Ball Z a little bit, I guess.
It was a mixture of Dragon Ball Z and like Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
And
perfect.
If you ever saw Jupiter Ascending, it was pretty much the same thing as how good the actual suits were. Nevertheless, both guys are looking pretty good to go very, very soon here, and we're getting everything started. The other thing that I do want to talk about is just the player styles. We do have Stardust used to be like the more aggressive player, and then he would mix it in with a lot of meta things, like he would kind of look like he's attacking and then go for the third base and defend a lot of the times. He mixes it up, whereas Sen's very linear. How do you feel like these styles actually match up when you go down to a best of 3?
I feel like you're right about Stardust for sure. Even in the last series, he won basically by defending and just reacting to his opponent. But at the same time, Sen, I don't know. I haven't seen him play that much, to be honest. Back when, he's always kind of favored just Roach Lings into Mutas. But will he do that here? I don't know. The metagame has even shifted since... I haven't seen him play in, what, since a WCS season ago or two, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, that's the other problem. The Taiwanese and the Chinese scene are kind of compartmentalized from the rest of the world, so we don't really get to see a lot of their broadcasts, but we do know that they do play a ton. I know there's a big fan base. Edison was telling me that there's a stream or a tournament that he runs, and they get 100,000 people watching from the Chinese scene. It's pretty hopping over there.
Yeah, I wonder how many fangirls Sen has. I heard he's pretty popular. He's like when I was in Taiwan, he was like very well recognized. There's a lot of little girlies there, you see.
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy? It's not that crazy.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's not.
You're
right?
blushing. You're embarrassed for Sen.
A little bit. But I know Sen's... I don't know if Sen gets fangirls actually as much.
Yeah, look at those lips. He's got like lip gloss on those
sultry lips.
Yeah,
bro.
man. Beautiful.
He probably put lip gloss on them to be like, hey, everybody in Taiwan.
Want to blow me a kiss or something.
What's up? Anyway, we are starting to get into game number 1 of Cactus Valley. It is a best of 3.
We haven't seen this map that too often.
It's normally banned a lot of times. I feel like it's really tough for Protoss, but we're going to find out as we get into it. In the bottom left-hand corner, as the blue Protoss, it is Stardust. And his opponent on the bottom right-hand position of Cactus Valley, it is the red Zerg, Sen.
Look at those lips. Oh, baby.
All right, so talk to me about this map because, as you said, we haven't really seen this map all too much. And it is kind of different than all the other maps with the 3rd and 4th base locations.
Yeah, in general, it's so big. And on top of that, you have this watchtower that covers the majority of the middle map. And because of these positions, they can be a lot more aggressive. In general, they're going to try to expand away from each other, so Zerg's usually going to have to take this 3rd base on the right side, and Protoss most likely is going to want to take this 3rd base at the top. But at the same time, Protoss do have the option, and sometimes will take the closer base just so that they can push into their opponents, and it's not as far to reinforce your units.
Gotcha. Well, starting off with a gateway expand right now. We've seen Stardust do this. I know there's a lot of really weird stuff that can go on with opening builds, like going Forge expansions, going Gateway, going Gate with gas. Tell me a little bit why you would go Gateway without gas, because we've seen Stardust do this a lot of times, and I know a lot of people are favoring Gateway with gas.
Gateway without gas, you're basically just trying to defend if they do some really early pull aggression. So by skipping the gas, you get a little quicker on the Nexus, but obviously any kind of gateway pressure off of the Cyber Core, you're not really going to be able to do. And then on top of that, if you want to do something more tech heavy, like a Stargate or a Twilight Council, it's going to be delayed as well. So it's like a safer option, but at the same time you get a quicker Nexus. So it would be more greedy than the gas, but you know, your tech's going to be delayed.
Gotcha. All pretty standard openings from all these guys so far. Actually, a little bit surprising that Sen had, on a 4-player map, ordinarily you're going 3-hatch before pool a lot of the times. But because this is a map that features like a very easy Forge fast expand, I think Sen is opting not to do that, knowing that, you know, it is pretty dangerous with just a 3 pylon wall off, or actually it's a little bit more than that. But with pylon wall offs and stuff like that, it's very capable for the Protoss to go and put pressure on. Protoss gets in here and sees that spawning pool is about to finish here. Most important thing to watch out for is, I think, the gases, and that gives you a lot of capabilities of knowing whether or not you can pressure on your opponent.
Yeah, and he seems like he wants to do his standard opening. It seems like no matter what, he always lets the Zealot finish. He always builds a Stalker. He always gets that pretty quick Mothership, and then he likes to pressure off of those 3 units and kind of just poke at his opponent to see what's going to happen. And he's maybe going to hide this probe too or loop it around. But I don't know. Is it worth it to build the Zealot, let it finish, build a Stalker, get the Mothership core out? I feel like he aggravates his opponent, but he doesn't really do damage, right? He kills some Zerglings.
And it's so
maybe
predictable.
Every once in a while gets like a Queen, but yeah, if Tudeming and Sen were talking, he should know that the Zealot is coming, or even if Sen was just watching.
Yeah. Sen will get in here with a couple of Zerglings as well. I like this. You don't actually have to attack with the Zerglings even. You can just put them in a corner, wait until the Stalker passes, and then go for it. And of course, Zerglings versus probes. You probably won't kill any probes, but what you will do is force micro that Stardust doesn't want to be doing. It looks like these Zerglings won't be able to do anything of value just yet, but it gets in here.
It's a decent scout, yeah. And then he doesn't really need to commit that much, to be honest. He sees everything that's going on. He's not too worried. He doesn't see the Warp Gate being chrono boosted. So he just can build a decent amount of Zerglings and keep defending. Like, Stardust once again gets a second Stalker as well.
Wow.
And then the 3 gate. So it seems like the game where he was opening up against Tudming, very, very similar. Now the question is, will he commit to the aggression? Because we did talk about this in between games, and I said, hey, he actually skipped speed and he went the really quick lair against Tudming, and he said, so I should have put on pressure. I was like, I think so. So now, will he actually pull the trigger on that? And he, like, usually by this time he has a Forge down if he's going to just take a third base. Yeah. So it does look like he might do a little bit of aggression, but Tudming and Sen aren't the same players, and Sen's already building 10 Zerglings.
It will make things a little bit harder to deal with. The Zerglings will be able to surround the Zealots. No huge amount of damage. I mean, this is one of the big problems of going for the later gas, is that your tech comes out a little bit later on. So Warp Gate finishes about, anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds later than ordinary timings. But Sen has been, as we've seen many, many times, very greedy. He actually waited for the double 6-minute gases, so it looks like he's still going to be able to fend this off with just mass Zerglings and the 3 Queens.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that he threw down the pylon so early and lost it so early, because he is only up against slow Zerglings, so theoretically he would never lose his Stalkers against that. And he wasn't able to put on pressure because he just lost his pylon. You can't really do that much damage with 2 Stalkers against 3 Queens. Yeah. But if he had warped in, 3 more Stalkers, he always has the option to retreat, and he can continue to force units out of Sen and keep chipping away at him. But now it looks like he has to throw up the Forge, he has to warp in sentries at home, he throws up the Twilight, and he's going to be looking to take a third base, I presume.
Yeah, I think so. It does slow down Sen a little bit. I mean, if we're going to be very, very particular, ordinarily you have like at least your 3rd and 4th gas going up by now, but because he had to get a round of Zerglings and not drones, it actually delays it quite a bit, so it delays his tech a little bit here. He doesn't even have his 3rd base saturated, which ordinarily you will have it done by now with some gases up. But so Sen, it's not like Sen got out of that completely scot-free. He had opportunity cost there. Now going to put pressure on the 3rd base, and what does Stardust do here? He's not actually pushing out to defend this. Okay, he actually warps him.
Yeah, he has to at this point. Yeah. He can't really do anything else. And then he just needs to know, okay, is he going Muta? Is he going Roach Ling? Or is he going to add a Hydroden? As of right now, he has no idea.
Okay, well, Lair has finished. Blue Reconstitution is started. And as you said it, Huck, I mean, Sen is the guy that's just going Zergling Roach in the beginning stages here. He is morphing an Overseer to get in there and see exactly what his opponent is capable of, whether this is a potential Blink +2 all-in or something like that, or if it's going to be Robo or whatever it might be. Robo is going down right now. So this looks to be like the most standard thing that you can do as Protoss. Nothing too crazy. But like, what is his win condition? Is he just waiting and just macroing and going to be adjusting, or?
Yeah, Stardust is definitely the reactionary player here. Sen's kind of ramping up to do a decently sized Roach push, and it doesn't look like he's going for the Burrowed Roaches, which has been more popular lately, but he's looking to bust the 3rd base or do a good amount of damage. If Stardust can defend this without taking too much damage, he should be going into the mid game on pretty good terms with Sen.
I was talking about how this map is a little bit difficult for Protoss, and I think this is the very reason. The 3rd base location can be kind of a nightmare to defend. Of course, you kind of have to leave your natural open, to some sort of counterattack. So things can get out of hand and spiral crazily out of control, but we're going to find out how Stardust will deal with this as Photon Overcharge is ready, and it's going to be procced here.
Yeah, pretty interesting building placements from Stardust. He's putting the cannon actually behind the Nexus, and he doesn't really have that gateway pylon wall that we generally see. But he does jump on these units, and he's trying to pick off the reinforcements. He cannot lose this Nexus, though.
Well, it's being targeted down right now. Blink is going to go onto the top Roaches, and you can see that these Roaches are actually being given chase. They're going to be blinked on Tom, but on top, but in the meantime, the natural is suffering at this point, and it's going to be overrun. Blink Stalkers will be warped in, but is it going to be enough, and is it going to be in time? Sentries and Stalkers moving down to the bottom phase, but these Roaches are kind of given up at this point. Where are the reinforcements for Sen? It looks like it's just Roaches for now. He's not looking to take a fourth base. He's looking to put on additional pressure.
Yeah, ideally that Stardust would have had a sentry there, but all in all, he's cleaning up these Roaches, and he hasn't really lost that many probes. He lost 2 probes, and he didn't lose his sentries, which are the main key units there. He only traded out Stalkers and Zealots, and that's what you want to trade out against Roach Zergling. So Stardust, really good defense. You could see it in the supplies. He's same supply against Roaches. Yeah, and he's got good upgrades coming, he's got good infrastructure, he's actually throwing down a DT Shrine as well, and he's going to use that Warp Prism to harass and then later warp in DTs.
So when do you actually start activating your units onto the map? Is this going to be enough? Because, I mean, he was very cost efficient with that last, big flurry of engagements. Can he actually push out into the map? What is he waiting for?
He probably shouldn't push out too yet. He has his Warp Prism, so he has options, and he doesn't mind Sen attacking into him. Right now, he knows through the feel of the game, basically, that he's in pretty good condition. He lost, what, 2 probes? He knows that. He knows he traded out Zealots and Stalkers, so he's not really worried about anything.
He's going for the Nexus. It's not looking good. Blink on top of the Roaches, but the Nexus will go down, giving Sen a nice little engagement there. The Roaches from the bottom will clean up some of these sentries, but these Roaches will be forfeit as well. And Sen, he does kill a Nexus, but at what cost? If you look at the supplies, it's actually very similar yet again. Sen struggling, and now some Zealots inside the base of Sen's main here to do some damage.
Yeah, he traded out the Nexus, but at the same time, he killed a good amount of Sen's army. He has this DTs that are going to come into play, and he knows now by warping in those Zealots and putting on a little pressure that he doesn't have Spores. And if he can get Sen into an awkward choke with this Immortal and these Sentries, he's going to do a good amount of damage, and at the same time, DTs warping in.
And that is so scary for Sen because he really can't afford to defend against both areas at the same time. He's desperately trying to stop the push, and now the Dark Templars are doing massive amounts of damage, pushing on through with his Blinkstalker Sentry. Sen is not looking all too good, although he is kind of positioned to deal with this. There's just too much stuff here for the Protoss army. Nice force fields get thrown down, and it stops the Roaches from continuing on.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now he's taking these big engagements against these +2 Stalkers with this Immortal behind them, backing them up, and meanwhile DTs are just hacking away at the Roaches, doing a good amount of damage. Stalkers in the back lines, jumping on top of these Roaches. He's getting burned out.
Yep, there's a very clean win coming out here for Stardust, as it seems like he just defends and is just counterattacking and pushing with very inefficient trades in the early stages. GG gets called, and Stardust will take game number 1 of the losers match here at the WCS round of 32. Really tough spot for Sen to be in. We were talking about the map and how it can be awkward to defend a third base. Stardust was probably doing the safest, most standard build you could possibly do, and just crushing Sen with nothing too fancy. It was all really, really simple play.
Yeah, and I think Stardust is realizing what I was saying to him, that he needs to get back to his roots. If he plays reactionary, calms himself, plays defensive, and just adapts and plays as the game goes on without a set plan, that's where he really shines, and he showed that. This was very similar to the game 2 when he played against Tudming. Just defended, let the Zerg make mistakes, and then, pull his own gambit mid-game. DTs, that's all he needed. Added enough chaos, and all of a sudden, he was in a position to close out the game.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it overall from Stardust. And what I like also is that he mixes in some aggression sometimes. Like, he is willing to say, like, hey, I'm capable of doing, a Dark Templar rush. He showed that when he played against Tudming in the first game of his series. And now he's showing just standard play. So he's like, okay, I'm going to play standard, but I'm going to make sure you're not too greedy and you're not too abusive. So I'm going to show some builds that are that can punish really greedy plays. But in general, I'm going to play my standard style and make sure that I can just outplay you towards the mid-game without you having a major advantage.
Yeah, and I feel like Sen going into this next game, maybe he's going to hopefully calm down and realize that, maybe play more passively. You can always do these types of aggressive plays, but he realized it too late. Mm-hmm. And the amount of distance he had to travel on this big 4-player map, I mean the biggest map in the map pool, to attack Stardust, even if it was horizontal positions, was a little too much. And like you said, Stardust played so standard, and he didn't do anything crazy. He didn't open up the Stargate, he didn't fail an Oracle, he didn't fail DTs. Sen should have known that. If he was going to commit to aggression, it had to be a little bit more all-in than what he was doing.
Yeah, if you look at actually the travel path for the Roaches, they're actually traveling as if it's cross-position map spawns. You're going all the way to the top left-hand corner and then swinging into one of the expansions. So it's the same way as if you were in cross positions attacking a third base. Of course, the natural was a lot easier to attack, but you know, your Roaches are coming in there, you know, a good like 10-15 seconds later, and that's enough for you to chrono boost out some units and get another production wave of units to defend against all this stuff. And that's kind of what we saw. Very easy defense coming out from Stardust. We're going to find out as we move into Iron Fortress. Now, I don't know why you would ever want to play on Iron Fortress as Protoss, man.
Really?
You like it?
I feel like Stardust, from experience, you know, he played against Tudming and he lost that third game, but he had, what, 2.6k or something at the end of the game? He knows he could have won that game, and maybe he feels like because Tudming and Sen talked, and because Sen watched the game, he'll play a similar style, and he's confident that he can win the game. Stardust was very confident. He knows he lost, and he knew it was in a bad fashion, but at the same time, he is confident in his abilities, and he knows that he should have won that game.
All right, well, we'll find out as we jump into game number 2 in the bottom right-hand position. As the red Zerg, it is Hong Kong Attitudes, Sen. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner, up 1-0, it is Stardust.
I love that work call for Sen.
I know. The fans love him, man.
Going into battle.
Do you know what it is?
No.
It's those lips.
Oh, huh. Well, I wish I could make a man scream like that, Retort. That awkward silence.
You know, if it was 2011, I'd have a much choicer words for something like that. But you're not Jeff in Control Robinson.
No, I am not.
And I can't say those same things on WCS broadcasts. Nevertheless, off we go. Again, I feel like this is a map that's very difficult for Protoss because of the third base location. It just feels like Zerg can do anything and everything. Protoss is so scared of taking a third base, and the reason for that, I think, is because it's just so much closer to wherever your opponent is. So it makes the rush distance a lot easier, and the distance between the natural and the third base is quite a long way. So it gives Zerg a lot of options for, you know, Zergling Hydra, as we saw in Game 3 between Tudming and Stardust, and even Zergling Roach. I think it works out pretty well too. But give me your thoughts. Tell me how to play this as Protoss.
I would like to see, personally, from Stardust, the same style he opened the last game. Maybe a little bit more aggressive at the beginning, don't lose that early pylon, but I think, honestly, his Blink Stalker control is really good, and his Sentry control is really good. And Sen's more the type to go Roach Zergling than he will be the Hydra Zergling build that Tudming did on this map. But at the same time, it's basically the same mechanics from Stardust, and he needs to trust in his control, and that's where he shines, in my opinion. Okay.
Well, we do have an adjustment from Sen coming out here. It's looking like 3 hatch before pool, so it is going to be the absolute greediest build that you can do against the Protoss, which is very reasonable in my opinion.
Yeah, and so far Stardust hasn't shown a Forge opening, so Sen really doesn't have anything to worry about. And he saw Tudming even on this map. He went 3 hatch before pool. He didn't get punished for it, so he feels comfortable that he could get away with it, and he's going to get a very slight advantage from that.
It's actually only been this type of build order so far, right? From Stardust, he's always gone for gateway, no gas into an expansion.
Yeah, he's been playing very safe so far.
Well, he is slightly adjusting. We saw actually double assimilator go down at the same time. For the other games, this time he will have a small little pool, and it looks like he actually did not go for that early Zealot, so that's where that Zealot money is going into, the earlier assimilator. And that gives him the ability to actually pump out this Stalker pretty fast, pump out the Warp Gate pretty fast here. He can put on options of really high pressure with just straight up Stalkers here. He can actually chrono boost out the cybernetic score, get it done by like 630, 620, and be able to put on pressure, knowing that, you know, Sen hasn't gone for his gas. And if you haven't gotten your gas by 4 minutes, that means by 7 minutes and 10 seconds, you're going to have slow Ling still. And that's when my Stalkers are going to reign supreme.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would like to see, and I'm pretty sure Stardust is going to try to do a little gateway aggression here. That's what I would imagine, at least. He knows it could have worked against Tudming. Tudming went for that greedy layer, and now he's opening up in a very similar manner. He skips the Zealot, means he can get gateways sooner as well. And I want to see that. He scouted his opponent first. He knows he went 3 hatch. He saw no gas. He has the options to do some kind of aggression here. This probe's kind of curious, though. It looks like a position where you might proxy something, but at the same time, he's banking so much gas. Maybe it's just to swing around and drop pylons towards that 3rd base.
Oh, looks like he's actually listening to you, Huck. He's doing exactly the same thing that he's doing last game. He has, well, a little adjustments, of course, but the Forge is going down. It looks like he's just prepping for a 3rd base and not doing anything too tricky, although this pylon does signify trickery, as you were talking about with proxy something.
Sin kind of like sacked that Overlord. He scouted with the Zerglings. He sees the 3 gateways. He sees the Forge. So maybe now he showed that to his opponent. He's thinking, well, if I just, if I just threw up a Stargate here, if I built an Oracle, he would never expect it.
This is proxy gateways, though, I think. No? Like, the +1, I don't think Stargate actually hits on any time.
I'm not sure. Like 1 or 2 Oracles with a good gateway timing, I think that'd be pretty strong, but we'll see soon enough, I hope. Oh, wow, getting that Stalker stuck off of 5 Zergling, that's pretty bad. That shouldn't happen, especially against slow Zerglings. He actually throws on the Citadel, it seems. Or
Twilight Council.
Twilight, as StarCraft 2 players might say.
Yep. Filthy StarCraft 2 players, right?
Well, they're Brood War players. I'm just trying to help them out here.
I feel you.
As the pylon's still not coming into play too much. He even built the Twilight in his main base. So maybe DT question mark or Robo? I'm not sure at this point.
I think it will be Dark Templars at this point. Just because, the probe is still there very clearly. And a lot of times when you go in with like your 2nd Overlord, sometimes, not everybody does it, but if you go in with your 2nd Overlord, you see, oh, it's a Twilight Council. I see it working on Blink. Oh, he's just going Blink Stalkers, and you don't make Spore Crawlers, It's the type of stuff that Sen is really prone to. We saw that in his TvZs where he's like, oh, that's early game pressure. There's no Banshees here. There's no Cloak I have to worry with. And he didn't get any detection in 2 games in a row. He got absolutely punished.
Here we
go. Here we go. Dark Templars.
So, I mean, I guess this is from knowing that Sen will not throw down precautionary spores. He needs a reason. Some Zergs will throw down 1 or 2 spores, in their bases to defend against DT. So far, it seems that Sen is not willing to do that. So he only has 1 in his main, I want to say?
He has
2.
Wow.
So
Sen playing a lot more comprehensive this time around.
I wonder, will Stardust be willing to still warp in DTs? Maybe just send 3 or 4 into the 3rd base, try to kill the hatchery and get out? Because at this point, he's not going to really do a lot of economical damage against the drones.
Well, in my opinion, this is still a pretty scary 3rd to be taking, especially because it's closer to your opponent than farther away. But it also makes sense because he wants to cover the distance that protects his natural as much as possible, so I don't mind that nearly as much. Still, Sen is ramping up a lot of Roaches. He's getting Leo Reconstitution and Roach Burrow together. We'll see if he gets Tunneling Claws at all as well. And he's looking to push out. Meanwhile, the Dark Shrine is just about to finish. Dark Templars have been warped in right now near the Dark Shrine, and they're walking over towards that 3rd base.
Yeah, this is for sure a 3rd base snipe. And at the same time, he's going to defend at home. But he has 2 cannons building in his natural, and he has this 3rd base, and he's not going to have Photon Overcharge for a little bit. But at the same time, he could always warp in DTs to defend.
Oh, yeah, and that's really scary, actually. He will go ahead and eliminate this 3rd base, it does look like. Warpins will try to defend everything, but those Dark Templars are going into the 3rd base, and it is that snipe, as you were talking about before, instantly go for that hatchery. Meanwhile, I think Sen is too preoccupied right now with dealing with this force, although Stardust needs to be so careful of not losing all of its units. The 3rd will go down. Meanwhile, the 3rd for Stardust is still up.
Yeah, and he's actually doing a good amount of damage. He's, of course, going to get this Nexus. Stardust not willing to trade out all of his sentries and his Stalker for this army. But at the same time, he's still whittling away at these Roaches. He's got those 2 DTs that are finally going to be killed. But Sen had to sacrifice a good amount of Roaches to kill them.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like Stardust will be able to actually get out of here with a couple of these Dark Templars, very elusive as they are. 3rd base will be started closer to his opponent, but these Dark Templars have something to say about it.
Yeah, he just needs to keep defending and keep Sen on as little bases as possible. I mean, if you can fight against a Zerg and you're on 2 base versus 2 base, you're in good position. And he's still getting Immortals behind this. Sen has this huge whoa, proxy Nexus. This is very strange, especially because of course I think if Sen's relaxed and calm, he's gonna have to check for that proxy pylon at some point.
Yeah, I mean he has to know that those Dark Templars came from somewhere on the top there, and little bit of technical difficulties, guys. We're getting things sorted out. Everything will be good. But nevertheless, yeah, I think like he should know in general that that proxy pylon should be in the top right-hand corner, and it should be dispatched as soon as possible. Nevertheless, I think Stardust is in a fantastic position right now.
Yeah, he really is, but I'm not sure about that proxy nexus, just because you see the DTs, you know they're coming from somewhere, right? You didn't see them come from the natural, you didn't see them come from the third base, so Sen should presume somewhere middle top, right top, there's going to be a proxy pylon, and if he ever scouts for that, he's of course going to find that nexus.
Yeah, a little bit weird. Does it really matter though? Like, is Sen in a position where it's like too much to come back from? Like, what does Sen need to do?
Sen has a huge supply lead, so he just needs to focus on, you know, getting his normal bases up, and if he can keep Stardust on 2 base, then that's what he needs to do, because right now he has a huge supply lead, and Stardust is a sleeping giant. He has 1.2k minerals. He's ready to explode. He just needs that third base to come into play.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see how well he's able to do that as we head back into the game. We got everything sorted out. You know, his third base, as you said, is one of the most important things to actually pop up here for Zerg. I feel like if he's able to find his opponent's third base and just shut him down, very clearly he'll be in a good position. But it's still very difficult. I mean, you know, his supply is bloated on roaches for the most part, and even though it's 173 supply to 100, it can get very scary. I've seen some ridiculous games, probably by Mr. Huck Loranger, where you've come back from games that I think shouldn't be possible in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, it's just going to come down to engagements. These Immortals are going to play a big factor into this, and it's kind of weird, the mind game that's going on now, because like I said, Sen wants to cancel that third base. If he can keep Stardust on 2 base, he's happy. But at the same time, he doesn't know about this proxy nexus. Of course, it's not fully ramped up. He still hasn't saturated the base. But if he does, and Sen might be tricked into like this false sense of confidence.
Is there any ever an ability to actually start recalling some probes to the top right-hand corner, or is that a little bit too cheeky because he needs maybe the
If TLO played Protoss, then maybe something like that would happen. But at this point, I think it would not be a smart move.
Okay. Well, nevertheless, right now we're just going to wait until actually Sen is... Okay, Sen actually thinks that he's super...
These roaches.
Did you see?
No, but he wants to know. He's curious.
Oh, no, he sees it. He sees it.
He sees it with the changeling.
There's a changeling in the top right-hand corner.
This is really bad for Stardust. Why did he... I mean, I guess he was searching for that pylon. Why would you send a changeling up there?
I don't know.
Like, of all places, you're like, all right, top right, it's time to check.
All right, and he actually cleans up these Dark Templars too, which is actually really nice, but this is going to be the cue to actually push out right now.
And he could get really good position, actually. And he has a pretty strong army. He's at 150 against 200, but that 200, you got to remember, it's purely roaches.
Yep, purely roaches, and on top of that, it's also just like not able to improve after this. It's not like he has a hive tech coming in after this, and he can easily go into Vipers. They do have tunneling claws, as you can see by those spikes coming out of the tops, but it looks like Stardust actually just backs up, takes his third base, and Sen, he is going to Hydras, but it's the slowest Hydra transition ever right now.
And his upgrades aren't super good either. He hasn't gotten +1 Carapace yet, and at the same time, Stardust is already working on +3. So if he took an engagement with +3 against a mass Roach army, he would do pretty well. Even now at +2, he could still do well. And Stardust is kind of using this aggression to take a third base. He's keeping, you know, Sen on his side of the map, and he's still teching up, and he's still working on, you know, getting everything he needs to for the mid-late game. But Sen sitting on like a huge bank.
What's going on here? Is he going for a base trade conceivably?
Yeah, but he already recalled Stardust did, so he's already at his third base. And if he can get a good engage here, if he can crush this army, he could easily win this game.
Okay. Well, it is a little bit scary here, but they're going for the engagement.
Oh, Stardust wants this engagement. Sen needs to back off real quick before he loses his game and throws it away. He's got this huge bank, but his army is so inefficient. He's just he wants to trade out his army, but he doesn't want a big engagement at this point. It's just so hard. You're forced, you know, unless, you know, he wanted that base trade, but as soon as Stardust felt that, he just recalled, and now, you know, Stardust is very content. Just sitting here, getting max and getting +3, adding Colossus, and if he takes that engagement and Sen's just stuck on the army he has, he's going to get crushed.
So where does Zerg go from here? Does he conceivably, like, just trade out roaches with harass, or can he actually kill these roaches himself?
He needs to harass. If he takes a big engagement here, I feel like it's not going to work out for him. He's just going to get crushed. There's too many immortals, too many force fields.
Yeah, it looks that way, and the Time Warp is helping out with those burrowed roaches. They're not able to actually do some damage. Don't forget that there is a Warp Prison in the bottom right-hand position, so the reinforcement into Sen's main is very, very simple here. Looks like another wave of roaches and hydras are on the way, and Stardust, he's not doing anything fancy, man. If anything, if you look at it on paper in a vacuum, his builds are really inefficient, but he's just playing super solid, taking the right fights, and being able to engage against Sen. Look at the units lost tab. It's just getting out of control very, very quickly.
Yeah, and his +3 is going to finish up either soon. So it's like Sen's trying to take these engagements, but he really needs to. He could have worked on moving behind the back door where that third base is. He could have at the same time done a double prong at the natural and then feinted pressure at the third base from the front. But taking a big engagement where he did, it's just not going to work.
Well,
and now he's like in Sen's face. Sen doesn't have the option to base trade anymore. He's knocking on the front door.
This is definitely very scary. And of course, Sen can't chase up into that hill. There's always a retreat path as well in the bottom place.
Now too as well.
Oh, yeah.
And 2 Colossus, what, 4 Immortals, 5 Immortals?
The big question is, does he have range, bro?
He's just finished it.
All right.
Just finished it.
Everything's okay.
He's trying to trade out this Roach Hydra army, but even if Stardust lost a good amount of probes, he's oversaturated. He could warp in DTs even. And there's no Overseer.
Not a good situation for Sen to be in, as the main engagement is going to happen over here at the third base. There's just not enough material here to be able to defend against this at all. Offensive Blink on top of the Roaches and Hydras will clean up most of these units, or all of these units, realistically. Meanwhile, the third base, the third base is going to be lost. There is another third being made in the mid right-hand position, but we're going to be seeing some sort of base trade. 33 Roaches coming on out very quickly here for Sen, but he's still not able to max because he doesn't have enough larva.
Yeah, and he's stuck on 2.6k, but he can only build Roaches. He can only build Hydras. He's got no Muta Switch. He's got no Hive Tech. And he doesn't really have the army across the map to even finish Stardust if he wanted to. So he's going to try to take an engage to crush his army, but unless Stardust makes a glaring mistake, there's too many choke fields. He still has force fields, and Sen just doesn't have the options here.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like just the force fields are a little bit too much. You need something like Blinding Cloud, like Abduct, to be able to deal with this and combat the Protoss army, but those Immortals, those Colossus being tucked away in the back, it does not look good for Sen at all, with Stardust most likely taking a clean 2-0 sweep here in the round of 32.
Even that little nifty Colossus pickup, it's pretty...
Got to show off a little bit, man.
Got to show that flair.
All right, well, Stardust is pushing in. Sen knows it. GG. Stardust will move on to the decider match. Of course, that will be the person, or he's going to be facing off against the loser between 4GG and Tootming. Sen, unfortunately, is going to be eliminated in the round of 32. Really unfortunate, but two people do have to lose at this stage.
Yeah, I would prefer Nathanius losing, but I guess I'll have to deal with Sen here.
Brutal, man. You have a vendetta. I saw people on Reddit saying, like, why does Huck really hate Nathanius? I don't understand it.
Gotta hate my co-casters, man.
I know, man. I feel
Gotta keep that edge.
I feel it. Nevertheless, I mean, it was a really tough situation for Sen to be in. He wanted to put on pressure, but the Dark Templars in the beginning did a lot of damage, in my opinion. Put Sen in a really awkward spot where it's weird. He had spores in every place except the third base, and that's an idea where it's like, okay, if I just was a little bit more comprehensive, I would be able to defend against that. It's just like they're punishing how abusive, how economically abusive Sen is, I think.
Yeah, and Stardust on top of that was really smart at the way he approached it. He scouted with the hallucination. He scouted the main, he scouted the natural, saw 2 spores. He scouted the third, saw no spore, and he knew where he had to strike. And at the same time, he did everything he needed to do. At home, he took a third base. He was willing to give it up. Sen pushed in, and most players would overreact, try to defend it with less units, and maybe lose the game. But not Stardust. He played very calm, very collected, and he was willing to take the losses that he did, and he just played the game out and did really well.
Safe, standard, concise play. Congratulations to Stardust, and we are live with him with Smix. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Great Torp Stardust. Congrats on keeping your Premier League road still alive. You keep sighing, and I can't help but feel like you just seem relieved right now. How did you end up in the elimination match? I feel like a lot of people did not expect that.
I didn't expect I losing to the wing like 1 week ago, but for now I saw his ladder rank in Korea server, and I was very impressive because he was top 25 in Korea server. That means he's better than me, like for real. Like my rank is maybe less than 50, so I was very worried about that. And when I came here, he looks very confident. Then I'm not ready for like full performance myself. So if I have 1 week more, then I can play like much better. But for now, I'm a little bit like sticky. So that's making me more nervous.
Well, you said that you felt a little sticky, nervous, but in this game it was the elimination match, which can make any player extremely nervous because if you lost here, you're out of Premier League. But in your games, you looked very calm, very collected. You played very well. So were you not nervous, or do you think that your gameplay just came through for you?
In versus Sen, I looks very kind because he make the decision before I have to do something. So I just react from his like methodology. So that make me very easy to play. Yeah, that's it.
Well, if you want to come out of this Group B, you'll have to play the loser of either Tudeming or 4GG. You just lost to Tudeming earlier, and 4GG, the other potential opponent, is also a very strong player. So how confident are you about your chances on making it out into the round of 16?
Like last 1 week, I didn't play versus Terran, not so much because I was very interesting versus Zerg, because for now it's much more like fun to play versus Zerg, because before have some moves that make just boring. But so anyway, in my group I have 2 Zerg, so anyway I beat 2 Zerg, then I can advance. So I prepare for that, so I don't have confidence versus 4GG. But anyway, if I have to play with my best, then and also 4GG, the performance looks not like best, so maybe half. But versus Tudeming, maybe if I play versus Tudeming, then I will gonna win.
All right, well, thank you very much, Stardust, and best of luck. And with that, we already have 1 player eliminated in Group B in Sen. Our next match will determine our first player in Group B to move on to the round of 16. And also thank you to our sponsor G1 Gaming, #WCS on social media. We'll see you guys right after this.
I move objects with my mind. I climb the tallest mountains and slay dragons. I defend my galaxy from ruthless aliens. I am never bored. I am stronger. I am faster. I am G1.
Welcome back, everybody, to the WCS Premier League Season 2. Of course, we're in the round of 32 Group B, and we've already seen a lot of matches occur today. Huck, what are your thoughts on all the games we've seen so far?
They've been interesting. It's like an amazing thing to see Stardust, play badly at the first set. Now all of a sudden he's playing a lot better, and at the same time to see 4GG, live up to what he's capable of, and Tudmin kind of shake that a little bit, or possibly, I guess.
Yeah, and in our next upcoming match, it is the winner's match. One of these players will be moving on to the round of 16 in Toronto, which is actually your home city, and tickets are on sale at this moment. If you missed the first wave, the second wave is available now, so make sure to check that out. And you must be excited that the finals are going to be there.
Yeah, I guess. I think it'll be a lot of fun. The Canadian crowd always brings a lot of hype, and Toronto events always nice, bringing a little esports to Canada, and I'll sign anything. If you guys want things signed, and I mean anything.
All right, well, Huck says anything, but let's go back to the games because our winner's match is coming up next. It'll be Tudming versus 4GG. Now, this match should be interesting because, well, we watched both of these guys play today. 4GG is the obvious, what everyone claimed to be the favorite of the group, but Tudming is a little bit more surprising because he wasn't as obviously of a favorite, even though he is a really strong player.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because 4GG, he did win, but he won 2-1, and all three games were a little bit closer than what everybody expected. He did show a little mortality in his play, and Tudming seemed pretty decisive, pretty strong against Stardust. And at the same time, PvZ, though, I don't really know how these players match up.
And speaking of PvZ, and Tudming's recent ZVT, it's been a very impressive 85% win rate. And I know that he actually said earlier he really wants to play 4GG, so do you think that means he has something special prepared?
I don't think he has anything special prepared necessarily, but I just don't think 4GG knows what his regular style is. So it's going to be kind of a big question mark going into it. 4GG's living in Europe as well, so normally you would think a Korean would know a Chinese player's style because they play on Korea server, but 4GG's been in Europe for a long time, so he doesn't necessarily know what Tudming's been up to.
So I dropped this question on Nathanius earlier. I'm going to do the same to you. Based off of the playstyle and gameplay that we've seen from both of these players earlier today, who do you think has the higher chance of moving on to the round of 16 first?
I'm still going to say my boy 4GG. Despite everything, I think Tudming's going to surprise a lot of people, and the games might be closer than they expect, but 4GG is just such a big favorite that he should pull through.
All right, we'll see if 4GG is able to live up to his expectations or if Tudming will live up to what he said and have it put up a good fight against 4GG. It's Nathaniel St. Greaserve casting. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Smix. I'm naturally excited, as I kind of made clear earlier, to see 4GG playing his next series. Retorp, any thoughts, any analysis you were able to do, because there's not a whole lot of games to find of Tudming's against Terran?
It's true, but there's more to find out about 4GG, and that really shows his dominance. Like, you can look and analyze his play, and I've done it a lot of times. I'm like, I'm going to copy his build, and then I realize that I'm not a good player, and I just can't do the build that he does.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, and he's not even cheesy. Well, sometimes.
He can be, but I get what you're saying. But it's a cool matchup.
That's like a testament to how good this guy is. Could you imagine being at most major tournaments, having all your games streamed, and still being that dominant?
And
that basically
streaming
says
the vast majority of your practice
too. That's
Yeah.
basically saying, please try to hard counter me. I'm still going to crush you.
There's nobody that competes in the WCS system that streams their own first-person gameplay of their ladder at the top of European and Korean Grandmaster than this guy. He's the easiest player to study. He's the kind of guy that if you're watching his stream, he's gonna end. You donate, he just keeps streaming, and then there you go. So you literally pay to watch more of his games.
It's insane, man. And people like him actually evolved the scene so fast because. I really think that collaboration breeds evolution, and 4GG is definitely the guy that, just puts stuff up there. I know he talks with a lot of people, and he's transferred into StarCraft 2 from StarCraft Brood War, and it's without a hitch, man. The guy was dominating StarCraft.
He was one of the very first players to switch too.
Yeah. And it's just so cool to see the king still be the king.
Yeah, it's always a treat to watch 4GD play. You know, I asked him, I had a little chat with him during the last series, the back, about Tubing, about this upcoming Terran versus Zerg, and he made it pretty, like, he kind of confirmed a couple of the suspicions that I had from his series against Sen, where he adapted after game 1 to the very greedy style, and I'm sure if Ming makes himself too predictable based on the way that he plays in the first game, 4GG will adjust. But he also told me there's not a whole lot to watch. It's very difficult to study Ming's games. It's hard to be certain where they'll play. He knows that Ming is in the top 30 of the Korean Grandmaster ladder. Is very, of course, very good to be able to get up there. But he says he hasn't actually played Ming in a very, very long time. At least the last time that he knows he played him, he told me it was like last year. Wow. So very difficult to get a read on what he would expect in this match.
I mean, anything can happen in a year. Honestly, that's a lot of time to be training, especially in seclusion. You can look at things, and you can also ladder up, as he has been on the Korean server, and do it silently. Nobody knows that you are tubing for a very long time. And that's the best part about it, man. Like, you can do just things behind the scenes and just surprise people. It's just like change that nobody will expect until it's like, oh, I'm better than Tubing. That's what 4GG thinks. And then, boom, he's like losing. He's down 1-0 and he's in a bad position. That could definitely happen because you don't expect your opponent to be that good.
Yeah, especially considering, you know, when you get that level of practice and being that high up on the ladder, and can't imagine that the one account that people know about is the only one he plays on, Greetorp. I'm sure Tubing has spent a lot of time preparing for this group. But it's time to finally see who will make it out of Group B first here in the World Championship Series Premier League Season 2. Spawning in the top position of Vani Research Station, we have the blue Terran player representing Team Millennium. He's 4GG.
And his opponent down in the bottom middle position, it is the red Zerg. Tubing. Wow, completely blank. I'll get there.
It's all good. It's all good. This map is where we saw 4GG play the only bio-based game that he brought up against Sen. And when I talked to 4GG about that game, he actually told me he felt a bit nervous. It's like, yeah, I guess since last season, this was, you know, this is the first time I've come up here to play on the big stage. He didn't have a tremendous run at DreamHack Tour. So this was actually like a bit surprising to me because he comes off as the guy who plays in pretty much every single European tournament, online and offline, at least trying to qualify. Has done his best to try to qualify for all sorts of other events. But it was interesting that would be why he would at least put the blame on for losing to Sen. Now let's see what Tubing wants to do in this game. He's already checking for proxies, I'd have to imagine, with this drone movement.
He's not going to see anything of value right now. And he's actually going to get in there and see whether or not this is going to be Command Center first or not as well. Now, this is kind of cool because 4GG has shown only Barracks first when he was playing against Sen.
Yeah, that's true. He opened up with Reaper in all of those games. What? I've seen proxy hatches. I actually haven't seen it here on this map. I haven't seen it here. Well, you know the thing is, if he gets one creep tumor near that ramp and the creep starts to spread up, it will instantly spread out from where the hatchery is by that ramp. So he can get very fast creep up the ramp too.
These are the sneaky surprises that he was talking about before. So I have no analysis on this because I've
never seen this before.
I've never seen this before on Body Research Station.
You have to imagine that the follow-up is like, let's assume that it's uniform for what you do with this hatchery. Okay. I haven't seen it here before, but the idea has to be get a queen, use Overlord for high ground vision so you can use spines from below to break the ramp and flood with lings.
Flood with speedlings, and also incorporate some banelings in there because you do need. Well, no, maybe not because you have the spine crawlers.
We've seen queen spine ling, and I would say less commonly there have been players in the past that have done this with roaches. I don't think that's what we're going to see this game. But seeing a command center first, he knows that tech is very late. Depending on when 4GG realizes this is happening, because he should see the creep spread from the hatchery by the time this barracks is done. Is he going to stop mining gas, try to get another barracks, immediately throw up a bunker? Will he move the barracks? Because he should be realizing very soon. He's just barely out of vision. Creep. It's so close. Okay, now it's appearing on the minimap a little bit. There's a sliver, and this is where it comes down to how fast does he react? How fast does he notice? Because I've got set my VC to his vision. He hasn't actually looked at it yet. Still doing... Actually, Can even build a Marine.
Oh
Pretty greedy
my
here
goodness.
from 4GG.
This is some Maro level reaction right now.
He still hasn't noticed it. Like, the Overlord comes in, he hasn't actually looked at the creep that's just at the base of the ramp. He hasn't spotted it.
It's because you never expect to have creep outside of your base, and now these Zerglings are actually going to be like, hey, I'm right here, bro. Better defend.
Well, he has no units, so he can't swap
Yep.
the factory to the reactor. He has to pull SCVs to repair. There's 3 spines. I think this is just a bop from Tuning. I don't know how 4GG is supposed to stop this.
I don't either. He needs like siege tanks at this point, but I don't even know if siege tanks are going to come out in time. Like, because that's 45 seconds, and he still doesn't have the tech lab up. He's going to be able to break down the bottom supply depots.
When this depot breaks, I think he's dead. Like,
okay.
What is he supposed to do now?
The first Hellion is going to pop out here. Bunker will go down, but remember, the spine crawlers will be able to outrange the bunker by 1.
He got the 1
hex.
tumor, though. So now that once he gets this tumor, it's going to hit the ramp, and as soon as it starts to get that high ground, all the creep will spread from the hatchery as well up this cliff.
Speedlings are up. Will be able to surround this bunker, and the Hellion might go down. Yes, it does. The second Hellion is going to pop out here. The bunker needs to be repaired so quickly here. Is it going to be enough? The DPS is just enough.
He's holding on to the bunker. He's got a good couple of Marines, but the spine's coming up. Like I said, now that it's hit the ramp, look how fast that creep spreads once it gets ramp control, because it can spread from the hatchery. Now that it's got creep on the high ground, the spines are starting to plant themselves down, and once these are ready, 3 spines and the queen, how are you supposed to repair the bunker against this?
I have no clue, but one of the queens will be taking out right now. The spine crawlers need to bro ASAP. Maybe he will be able to get one of these spine crawlers, but I highly doubt it. They do a lot of damage right now.
Spine crawlers, once they finish, spine crawlers have 2 armor as base, which means workers are completely useless for killing them once they're already done. And they outrange the Marines in the bunker.
That's right. It's by 1. It's by 1 range, which is so unfortunate.
This bunker, the Marines aren't shooting at all.
Wait, there is a Banshee popping out here. That could be a saving grace if he's able to get rid of all the queens right now.
I mean, it's all he's got. He is still mining a little bit in the natural. He does still have access, of course, to the mules, but he just needs to buy time. He doesn't have a lot of it, though.
No, he doesn't. It's definitely a very precarious situation. There's more Zerglings going to be flooding in here very soon.
He doesn't have enough resources to start another Banshee either. This Banshee needs to be the playmaker. There is only 1 queen here now. There's no spores.
It went past the bunker, actually, so it puts him in a really bad situation. Zerglings will sprint forward, trying to kill some SCVs. Is this going to be the hold? There's actually no anti-air here. The first spine crawler will go down.
I can't believe he's actually managed to survive this opening. It still will take him a while to resecure, because he has to kill the spines and then scan to kill the tumor. And even then, I think the hatchery's creep will still be here, and it might barely block him from rebuilding that depot, so he might not be able to re-wall. And lifting that barracks means he actually can't use the reactor.
Oh my god.
You can't land there. I don't know if 4G realizes there is a tumor at the base of the ramp.
This is the type of build that Tudbing does and has like 100% win rate on like ladder and in practice games, and then 4GG is seeing it for the first time. He's like, oh yeah, I can defend this. It's no problem.
Well, he scans. There's 1 tumor just outside of the scan range, unfortunately. But even killing that, this creep isn't going to dissipate too far. And now the hatchery's dead, so it'll slowly go away to the point where he can use it. I mean, Tudbing is only just now securing his natural. 4GG still has 2 command centers. To be perfectly honest, he should have died. I'm blown away that he was able to get that repair off on the bunker quickly enough, and even just the very slight delay on those spine crawlers planning themselves. Like, to spot something this late and not auto-lose is nothing short of a miracle.
I do think that Tudbing, if we're being really nitpicky, he slightly misplayed that with the left spine crawler. It should have been moved over a little bit more so his queens could run behind and always just be back there to defend his spine crawlers.
He needed, when he first planted all 3 spines, if they were all within range of attacking the bunker without being hit by it, then I could have bursted it down when he used the lings to try to dive on top, too.
I mean, the queens are really the win condition to actually move forward, do more damage. The spine crawlers are actually just supporting the queens.
Because he got that Banshee, but he did not have Cloak. He's just now started Cloak. And if there were 2 or 3 queens there, actually just 2 queens there to push the Banshee away and buy space, it could have actually worked. But he has no lair, which means even if he gets Spore Crawlers up, these Banshees can still be a nuisance, deny workers from moving between the bases, and still put pressure.
Oh, nice surround coming out here, and just 2 Hellions will die. There's a lot of Marines to add to this composition. Banshee is going to be forced away by the single queen over at the natural position.
He's still one inactive tumor, so he can't spread anymore from there, but it's going to be a nuisance. And the Banshee's Cloak about halfway done. He's starting up spines up front. He actually still hasn't gotten any spores. I mean,
No.
I know you're broke, but you didn't actually kill the Banshee. Okay, now he
Okay.
starts them up. Like, that's a pretty big deal.
Taking a page out of Sen's book right now.
Yeah, 4GG is actually crazy enough to, if he thinks he can get in before these spines finish, he's like the kind of guy that would try. And with 3 spines and 3 queens, with each having a transfuse, this isn't breakable. It's just going to distract him while the Banshee comes in and goes ham. There's 2 of them in the natural.
I like this, though. I mean, it gives a little bit more value to these Banshees for them to do additional damage, maybe kill some drones, do some more stuff. But now Cloak is finished.
He didn't build a Spore in the main either.
Yeah.
So he could just go to the main, and then there's nothing to contest him. He's just started a Spore Crawler, and even if he didn't want to attack that, he could use the Banshees to try to kill these Spine Crawlers. Yeah, and that's what he's going to do.
He sees the lair is so far away from finishing. Of course, it could be transfused at this point, but still,
I mean, he hasn't even started a lair. Like, okay, now it begins, and that's just...
That's brutal.
It's not going to work.
And he's just going to mass transfuse, but, you know, what is he really waiting for? He needs a Spore to actually move over here just to start defending these. A 3rd Banshee is going to be added on here.
The damage output of this army is too good. Like, once the Spine Crawlers are dead, the Banshees complemented by the Marines and Hellions, yeah, they're just going to crush this. He has nothing else that can actually deal with this army. And even then, he's got the double armory follow-up. He has 3 command centers. I think 4GG is going to take this game after a phenomenal hold of this cheese.
Yep. That's really what it comes down to. And, I mean, look at 4GG. He went another command center, 2 armories, and he's still putting pressure on and winning the game. That's how far ahead he was. GG gets called out, and 4GG will take game number 1. A beautiful, fantastic hold.
That was pretty crazy. You know, all things aside, that's a very easy game for 4GG to lose when he doesn't scout it until, like, just look at the way that his build order was set up, right? He went for the command center, and he did the build that I talked about Bunny doing on this map yesterday. He went command center, gas, barracks. And all it does is get your tech up much faster than other builds, but the weakness is you don't have any units. He should lose because of that.
Yeah.
The Zerglings are there, 3 spines are done, he has no Marines, and somehow 4GG didn't die. It doesn't actually make sense. But like this moment right here, he comes in with the Lings, and 4GG barely is able to get enough surface area with his SCVs. If that bunker breaks, like, I'm pretty sure 4GG is just dead.
And even regardless from this, I mean, he lost a lot of Zerglings here, but he still has 3 Spine Crawlers. Now, see, if that left Spine Crawler is actually displaced all the way over to the right-hand side, then the Queens could actually wrap around and start transfusing, protecting the Spine Crawlers a lot better, and also protecting against the Banshee. He saw that there is Banshee popping up here. All he had to do was just maintain this force and slowly aggress up, because, hey, repairing actually takes a lot of money, not only indirectly with the SCVs offline.
Like, at this point, 4GG had less than 10 gas, and he wasn't really mining any. So if that Banshee takes some serious hits from the Queen, like, he can't afford to consistently repair it.
But, I mean, all in all, there were mistakes from both sides, but still, 4GG, I mean, what crisis management, right? Like, that is insane.
That's a panic mode scenario. Like, that's, as soon as you realize what's happening, you are just, like, and 4GG... You know, he got up to that Banshee. He knew that from that position, because he couldn't move the barracks, you know, he needed the wall. Just the snap, like, I need a Banshee. That's the only thing that's going to buy me out of this scenario is to get a Banshee. And he's lucky he was able to do it without Cloak, because if there are 2 Queens there, with the Spine Crawlers backing him up, he's done. It's over.
Yep. And that would have been the dream scenario. He did have 2 Queens at one point, but... You know, we saw 4GG always poking forward a little bit, trying to take...
He targeted them with the units that he had, which is so important.
Yep. Overall, man, just some high-quality stuff coming out from 4GG. We're going to jump into game number 2. It's going to be on Expedition Lost. And why don't you introduce your favorite player in the world?
Thanks, Great Torp. In the bottom left position, spawning as the Blue Terran player, representing Team Millennium. 1 map away from the round of 16 is 4GG.
And his opponent spawning in the top right-hand position, Zenith of Origin's very own Tude Ming.
Now, something that we have to talk about, since 4GG has come into this group as the favored dominant player, Tude Ming's potential to have that rematch against Stardust.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a very interesting thing to look at, because 4GG, in his dominant form, one of the matchups that I personally think he excels in as well is, well, he's kind of good across the board. I mean, he did finish very highly in WCS. He's the kind of guy he's got a championship in StarCraft 2. But I think TVP on these maps, like I like 4GG's chances. I think Toon Ming would be looking at a slightly different Stardust, who's maybe feeling a bit more relaxed after
new
that
and
series.
improved, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that in one day a player can change so drastically from the first series to the second series. But sometimes it is just that you're waking up on the wrong foot and you just got to readjust.
You know, as much practice games and warm up as you can do until you actually sit down in front of the people. You know that thousands of people watching online. It's a position where you have to experience it before you can be comfortable doing it.
And it's so weird too because like never in our prep for these guys where we talked about nerves or you know
these are the
comfort
experienced
issues.
Guys.
Yeah.
Huck called these guys the retirement home.
Yeah, I mean these are the veterans that have been playing since StarCraft Brood War. I mean it came out in 1999 or 1998. That's a long time to be playing StarCraft Brood War or StarCraft in general, this series. So for them to still get nervous, for them to still misplay in the early stages.
They've been playing StarCraft since I was 5 years old, Gritor.
Wow. That is crazy, man. That is crazy.
4GG opened up with a late gas, by the way, this game. And he's still going to get a delayed Reaper. I'm not entirely sure that it's the biggest deal ever, but this map doesn't really favor Reaper play because there's not really anywhere to jump in from the main to the natural. Just one small spot that the Zerg can account for. You put your queen there, and it's over. But the Reaper's going to come out, go straight for the reactor, I'm expecting, and I think maybe he'll go for a build just because this map gets trickier in longer games against Zerg for Terran. I wouldn't be surprised to see him bust out something similar to what he did on this map against Sen.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. It peaks at a really nice time when you want to do like 2 or 3 base pushes. And it stays pretty safe in the early game stages. I mean, if you're going Roach, it's like, go ahead. I will get some siege tanks up. I will have a nice buffer when, really you can't get rid of my Hellbats all too well. And my first push is going to be really, really difficult to stop. But we'll find out. I mean, there's still a lot of different options. But it is interesting how, so far, of the last 4 games that we've seen for 4GG, 3 of them have been more mech-based, mech air.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, 4GG's Banshee and Hellion control is so good that it's like, well, if you play mech, you get to keep building those units, It's like, oh, why would I want to play Bio? That doesn't really lean on Banshees or Hellions. This is where 4GG, in my opinion, shines the most because he's just so good at controlling those units. The number of games that this guy has ended in 10 minutes on ladder, like if you watch his stream, it's gnarly. Like almost no one that you're gonna watch can control Hellion Banshee as well as 4GG.
Yeah, I agree. And it's really difficult to do while also macroing, just because it's so micro-intensive. Your Banshees have to be in the right position, then your Hellions need to be poking in and out, in and out. Macroing all that too, it gets really, really out of hand. We are seeing the same build as we saw last time in his series against Sen. It looks like just Hellbat Marine into some Medivacs in the early game stage. We're going to see how Toodming is able to deal with that. Nice denial of making the hatchery.
Yeah, that's actually really, really nice. Toodming having that delayed third base gives 4GG one place to focus on putting the pressure, and that's, of course, the natural. Roachhorn is on the way for Toodming, though. And I think for Toodming, it can be hard to know what exactly the Terran player is up to. The only thing that he scouted with his Overlord in his base was that he went Reaper into Reactor on the barracks, which is what everybody does. That's what you do with the barracks after you're done building Reapers. Well,
here's the big deviation from the games with Sen. Not only did he go for the Roachhorn, which is standard, but he got the really fast lair so that
I love this. The lair is, in my opinion, the biggest thing. Like, this Reaper's actually just been falling out of control, by the way. Killed the drone while dancing around these lings and denying that third base for an obscene amount of time. Now the Hellion backup has arrived. Without Zergling speed, actually, Reaper lives to die another day.
But that's a big tell also to 4GG. When I don't see metabolic boost this early, like at 7 minutes?
Yeah, if they're on 2 base, has to be either Spire or Roaches.
Yep.
And in this case, it could actually be both, because you might just get Roaches to defend this push, and then try to switch into Spire. Very difficult, of course. He's going to get Roach speed, though, so he wants to commit a bit more to a Roach counterattack. With this much Marines behind it, though, he could still do a lot.
I agree. Glier Reconstitution is on the way, so it's going to give him a lot more safety against these Cloak Banshees that could pop up right here. There's Cloak, and Banshees will start up pretty soon here.
Yeah, he's got it queued up. He's just a little bit supply blocked, only about 5 seconds.
And here we go. Let's take a look at this micro with the Hellbats trying to gain a little bit of position on these Roaches. They will kill one Queen.
I mean, the thing is, it's all about the Queens, really. Like, the Roaches can try to buy as much time as they want, but he can focus on the Queens. He can use the Marines in the back to try to kill Overlords, drones. As nice as it is to pick off the roaches to stop a counterattack, killing the queens is what allows the Banshees to do the obscene amount of damage. What good is an Overseer if there's nothing for it to spot for?
That's true. And he's just going to drop into the main right now, healing up this Hellbat. Hellbat. Oh, the drone!
Up.
No! He moved command on accident. And he's actually going to...
That was scary.
Get out. Yeah,
because, you know, the reason why mineral walking is so important is because they would pass through.
Back! Wow, big pickoff right there. Now Glio Reconstitution just about to finish, so counter pressure is possible. And how this is different from the last time with Sen is that the Glio Reconstitution gives them the ability to run away from those Banshees. So he can at all times dictate where the Banshees will be.
This counter push is fantastic. 4GG is going to run Hellions by, which is also really smart because of the roaches going in. So 4GG is now in the mineral line of the natural expansion. He's pushed away the drones. He's already picked off 4, and there's only 1 roach and a queen here, so he should be able to get a few more kills. 10 drones. Ooh. It's getting warm in here, Greetor.
It is. Wow, an additional 2. Now the roaches are coming forward. He's going to bust down the first depot and probably get in here. There's a lot less Hellbats here, so this gets a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, he does have 2 Banshees. The second Banshee is a bit faster than when he had to do this against Sen.
Wow.
With no Hellbats, these roaches can focus purely on killing SCVs. Without a 3rd command center, 4GG, every worker he loses puts him pretty bad.
Oh no! He actually lifted up the supply depots. His Hellbat was blocking the supply depot, and now the SCVs are going to get shredded. Look at that SCV count, 20 SCVs killed, and it's just going to continue to pile on.
Yeah, the one thing that benefits 4GG is he did kill a reasonable amount of workers behind this, but you know what? I don't think 4GG can afford to swap that tech lab with the factory and the starport to actually get Thors out. There's a Spire about to finish, and Tu Ming does not need to build very many mutas at all to handle this.
And this is just very heavy tech off of practically 2 base. He does have his 3rd base up, but is he mining from that? Not really.
If you're not mining it, it's as good as a macro hatch, really.
Yep. It's just 2 base. I mean, it's preparation for a little bit later. We can see supply 63 to 46 in favor of Tu Ming. He's looking so good. Cloak is going to go off, but this is a very different response and definitely a very different game.
There is 1 Overseer in the natural. There are no Spore Crawlers up right now, so the Banshees are going to try to do as much damage as possible to keep the mutas at home, while simultaneously, of course, softening any other follow-up that he might try for. Tu Ming has the mutas rallied across the map. They need to actually come back, because otherwise these Banshees are going to completely ransack his base. He's still sending the mutas across the map.
Interesting.
2 Vikings on the way at a time. He actually built another reactor on the barracks, so he's actually squeezing out some Marines, and now he's got a Thor on the way. I think Tu Ming, as good as it is to try, these Banshees are doing a crazy amount of damage because of all of this.
They are going to eventually get cleaned up, but not before taking out a lot of drones here. As you can see, 13, 14 drones and still counting, so it's a really good position. It's just like 1 muta doing damage. Now, the return counterattack with these mutas, I don't think they can do nearly as much damage.
The worker count's in a position where the mules are once again keeping 4GG in a good spot, and the Vikings in low numbers are actually pretty effective.
30 drones killed, a total of 53. And just like that, if he kept his mutas at home, he wouldn't have been able to do any damage, but
it was so smart of 4GG to recognize that he lost too much money to go straight into Thor Viking, and that he couldn't afford missile turrets, especially because there's no engineering bay. But building that reactor on the barracks and getting Marines out, even though he wants to play mech, is brilliant decision making.
Yeah, definitely so. And just like that, income tab shows still the Zerg is ahead, actually, after all those drone kills. It's 44 harvesters, 231. It looks like Tu Ming is continuing to make more drones, but now it's the switch over into roaches, and there's still no engineering bay with turrets up here.
And he still has roach speed, so he doesn't need to invest anything. Just build roaches, build. The Vikings, landed, can try to help, but 4GG at this point has to be preparing for some sort of absurd push, and actually, he's moving out.
It's not looking absurd, man.
No.
It's looking very flimsy so far with all these roaches that will be popping out or are already out. 10 roaches.
He needs to bring the Vikings over here. Like, he needs everything if he wants to actually make something happen.
Yeah.
The roaches with speed can actually kite a bit against the Hellbats. Like, this is enough roaches to defend this attack.
Plenty. And it will be dispatched pretty quickly. And also, the counterattack looks really scary.
Yeah, now his Thor is just kind of stuck here. By the time the Vikings land, the Thor should actually already be dead or very close to it. Yeah, picks off the Thor. Now it's like, well, what are you supposed to do? Okay, another couple Marines come over. The next Thor is here. Pretty reasonable, but the roach count is still there. 6 more roaches on the way. He's going back into Banshee production as he's killed off all of the Mutalisks. And He's landing the Vikings again. He really, like, he doesn't have enough to actually finish the fight here.
No, he doesn't. The one good thing, though, that he has is, well, air superiority. He can
a really
actually go
weird
into the
kind of air superiority.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not too powerful as he still has to land all of his stuff. And
4GG at some point does need to find a way to get a third command center, though. Like, I don't feel that this should be possible for him to win without having the third orbital. And it's coming. It would have come in so late that I still think that Tude Ming should have this one in the bag.
I think so. I mean, this is additional SCVs that he will be able to clear up. And a trade, I mean, 4GG always able to equalize somehow or another. Going to lift up and not be attacked here. But Banshee is on the way as we speak. It looks like 4GG will just give up his natural base, so they're trading out economy. But how do you deal with this huge amount of roaches? That's the question.
And pretty crazy. I mean, you clear out the Mutalisks, recognize the opportunity to throw those Banshees in there, but the roaches are going to come. Clean house again. 23 SCVs at 38. Drones, and he can't really build an army at this point. Like, more mutas are going to come out. That's enough to deal with the Banshees again, and there's still nothing that can stop these roaches.
Yep, and they're going to clean up all the rest of these SCVs. The SCVs will actually start attacking, but realize this is a fruitless endeavor. Going to back up to the natural base and try to start mining over there, but already so much damage has been done.
You know, there's still roaches in the natural anyway.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing this perfectly to keep the Banshees from being super effective. GG's called. Tude Ming ties the series up 1-1 against 4GG.
Excellently played. Excellently played by both these guys.
Very awkward game. I was really trying to think about what made Sen's build weak, and in the first series that when Sen played against 4GG, I was pretty confident that the tricky part was he was just trying to get up to 3 bases and delaying the tech a lot. Tude Ming had a much better reaction by getting him a tech up, not because he defended with more or less. Like, he had a pretty similar number of roaches, but as you said, it's easier to dodge the Banshees, but also the counterattack was nice. And 4GG tried to equalize things by getting these big drone kills, but despite all of this, it was the swing back into roaches, and 4GG trying to make that push at the third. Like, that was never going to work.
I think what it really comes down to is how they're defending against this. So Sen takes a more soft counter approach with, getting the right amount of queens or getting the right amount of roaches and just parrying the attacks. Whereas we're seeing Tude Ming, he goes for the all-out, I know what counters this exact build. Let me go against that. And there is the chance that 4GG next game goes for the same build, but instead of getting the Banshee, he gets something like a Viking. He doesn't play so aggressive with his Hellbats or Hellions and stuff like that. Denies the third base for a long time and goes that third command center. There are plays like that where you go slightly less efficient on the early game aggression, but you're still able to bait out really bad, inefficient builds against your range.
And the one thing, I mean, you got to at least give credit to 4GG for sticking to it, because if both players, at any point after that big roach push where he killed a lot of SCVs, if both players decide to stop and play passively, having the third hatchery for Tude Ming gives him a massive edge with injects, because he'll drone up really heavily. But 4GG, he starts a third command center at 13 minutes. He has really no chance to ever catch up in economy, and Tude Ming will just be, once he's saturated on 3 bases, build nothing but roaches, and even with, a couple Banshees, he just roll over him because there won't be anything on the ground to stop him.
Well, nevertheless, we're going to move into the ace match right now between these two players. In the winner will move on into the round of 16 in Toronto. In the bottom right-hand corner, as the red Zerg, it is Zenith of Origins, Tude Ming.
Some really loud cheers in the crowd for him. And in the top left position, the blue Terran player representing Team Millennium, he's 4GG.
GG looks a little discontent with that last game, honestly.
I mean, you gotta at least take into account that the map is one where most Terrans do not like to play against Zerg on. In the current map pool, the Zerg doesn't have to mess with you too much to get at least one map where a third base is a little bit trickier, especially for someone that likes to play mech builds. So 4GG bringing out his aggressive strategy on Expedition Lost makes a lot of sense for that reason alone. Now, Echo is a map where 4GG can slow things down. Already showing 11 supply barracks. We'll probably see his gas at 11 supply as well. This is a build where you go 3 Reapers, you put on a lot of pressure, follow up with Hellions. For 4GG, I expect to be a Hellion Banshee. Or, if 4GG really wants to just completely change the pace of this series, he can also play a 3 Command Center build and just do the regular Hellion Reaper push and switch into bio out of it. He has a couple of choices, but this is not an opening that generally lends itself as much to two-base all-ins.
Yeah, I think actually later stage games for Terran is favored on this map overall because the fourth base creep spread for Zerg is so hard
to have. It's very
to
difficult. We saw yesterday when Patreus played Bunny on this map, it was very easy to spread the creep towards the center, but if you want to get to either fourth, you're branching off to the point where you need 7, 8 active tumors that are constantly being pushed, which, is a pretty difficult thing to do.
I mean, only Scarlet really I see doing stuff like that. Maybe Jaedong, I mean, he really prioritizes creep that much, but very few players in the world are capable.
And that's also assuming that the Terran is going to sit in their base and just let you spread creep all day, too, which 4GG's not the kind of guy to do that.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So at this point, 4GG being a little bit cheeky with this bunker. This is one of those things that you'll do on ladder, and you just hope that they don't check, or they don't have an overlord, they don't send a drone down. And because he hasn't checked, he hasn't moved an overlord there, he hasn't sent a drone down, 4GG could get this bunker up. And this doesn't do much. This isn't like a game-winning move. This just is trying to force out more Zerglings than the Zerg would normally build, because Tudming only built 4 against the original Reaper, but he's hoping to force out something like 8 to 10 Lings.
It does tell the build a little bit, though. I want to mention that because that bunker a lot of times should be factory instead of that bunker. So it tells you like more Reapers are on the way. So you are showcasing your build right away in the beginning stages just by having that bunker.
You would not do this with just one Reaper, because if you get all 3, like the fact that he hasn't produced an insane number of Lings, okay, now he's added on a couple more. This is really nice, because 4GG doesn't have the intention to try to trade this out. Like, he could maybe trade the bunker if enough Lings are made that kill it before he can salvage it. But ideally, this just gives you a really nice point to put on pressure, prevent drone production, and if you can kill a queen, make life a living hell for Tudming.
Yeah, and already, I mean, you can see a lot of damage being done to the first or the second queen. A third queen will pop out here. He's going to wait until those Reapers are healed up and then go in again to try to snipe that queen.
Yeah, with the factory and reactor on the way, he also took a second gas, so 4GG probably going to follow this up with Banshees, wants to snipe the queen, and he does get it, but loses 2 Reapers.
That's actually really brutal, I think, for 4GG.
Yeah,
again,
I don't think that was entirely worth it. He did force out a lot of Lings, like, yeah, you prevented the drones, but you also delayed your command center by choosing to get your factory, the bunker, and the reactor before it, so...
Like, that third queen is actually meant for builds like this. To just defend, be a little bit better. Of course, it affects your creep spread, but you can get by with just 1 inject on the hatcheries based on your income while you're getting the third hatchery.
Yeah, he has 3 queens. He has, 2 queens up, so he can cover both of his bases. He's taken the third now, and the follow-up pressure with Reaper Hellion is also severely diminished because those Reapers are supposed to soak up damage, regenerate while you pull back, and prevent you from needing to send your Hellions home for repairs.
Yeah, to give people some context, actually, 2 Hellions should be out by 6 minutes. It's already 6:40, and the first 2 just popped out. So you can see the opportunity cost right there. It's, again,
it delays
a whole 40
that
seconds.
Yeah, entirely delays the first wave of Hellions. By like a whole, it delays the Hellions by like a whole wave.
Yep.
Blair has just started for Tudming, so he's still, he's not playing that super greedy. This is a bit more to the standard Zerg style that you would expect. And 4GG's is like, okay, sack my Reaper, try to get some information. Seeing the lair is nice enough for him. Getting drone kills, though, that's just a cherry on top.
You think there's just like an inference of, is this an all-in or not?
I mean, it's important to know, but since he's going Banshees, I don't think 4G's worried about an all-in. He should be more worried about a fast Spire, because that's the only thing that 100% shuts down Hellion Banshee.
That's true.
Like, Hellion Banshee can play against Roaches, because you can actually do weird kiting with Hellions against Roaches off creep if they don't have speed. The Banshees, of course, are uncontested. Once you get 3, you can shut down most anything. All you're worried about are Mutalisks.
Well, Mutalisks are still a ways out. Of course, the Spire will probably not be thrown down, actually, since the Roach Warren is up already. But now 6 Hellions will get in here and potentially do some damage. You can see the Queen is already half-life.
Yeah, 4GG does have +1 mech on the way, so we will be seeing him play that style, I think, on this map. It is a brilliant decision.
Oh, this is actually very scary.
With no Baneling Nest and the Roach is not out yet, yeah, he should be able to shut this base down because the Banshee alone can push the Queens away. And if they step off creep to come and attack, well, then they're all going to die. Yeah,
to Hellbats. You don't want to be trading against Hellbats. So that is going to be a forfeit hatchery at this point. So a really nice timing coming in here from our Terran player over here.
Roach speed starts And I'm actually really worried for Tudming now, because as good as it is, if he doesn't kill the Banshees in this situation are very momentum-based. You know, as he keeps the Banshees alive, they're going to carry over, and the difference between having 2 Banshees and 4, rather than like 6 to 10 Hellbats, those Banshees are going to be astronomically more impactful. And the Hellbats are just going in to snipe the Queens.
Yep, the Queen from the main actually comes down. It looks like he's able to maintain 2 out of the 4
There's
Queen.
no spores.
No. Oh, wow. You're right. And he's just doing work on this main base. The hatchery, or excuse me, the main Queen is going to try to battle it, but the natural one actually dies.
Yeah,
wow, this is crazy. And I think the main's going to die too.
Yeah, he dropped one of the Banshees, but you know, he's still producing Hellions. He's actually throwing down bunkers back home in preparation to just use his barracks to get a few Marines to hold off against the Roach push. But this isn't, you know, this is a pretty limp Roach push as well. This is nowhere near as many as he was throwing last game. He even starts a Nidus, the Desperation Nidus retort.
I don't understand how 4GG is able to be so consistent with this Hellbat push. Like, he always gets damage done no matter what. People know it's coming, and he's still able to put on pressure and do damage. It's really insane. Like, there are so many people that try to hard counter him and still are not capable of dealing with the pressure.
Let's look at the only thing that can happen to lose 4GG this game. It's the Nidus. He's morphing an Overseer right now outside 4GG's main. He has a little bit of vision to plant that Nidus. I think it should be spottable by the Refinery. I'm not 100% sure. There's a very small area he can't see. Maybe it fits into that.
But not anymore.
This is all or nothing.
STV goes down, actually. Because 4GG says...
He's going to go 4 command centers, because you know what? Why not?
4GG says to himself, what's the only way that I can lose this game?
He's going to try to kill him by pushing up front with Queens. That's the only chance. He probably will try to start another Nidus inside of the main once he's distracted and pulled 4GG to the front. But this is it. Yeah, so he starts a Nidus in the main. 4GG needs to pull SCVs to react at the same time, because this is actually a bit of a bluff by Tudming. Oh, it's halfway done. Ooh, he's going to get the warm-up. Okay, the Banshees are going for it now. If he kills the Overseer, though, then there's no detection to actually kill these Banshees. Yeah, okay, he stops it. Well, now I don't think there's really anything... There's not much left for Tudming to try. He doesn't have enough Queens to actually deal with all these Banshees.
Yeah, I think Tudming is in the roughest spot you possibly could be for this game number 3. I mean, 4GG just has a firm grasp on everything. Killing 2 Niduses is actually a ton of minerals and gas to eliminate from your opponent's arsenal. So that makes his entire army a lot weaker. If you want to look at just the gas alone converted into roaches, that's 8 roaches right there.
Yeah, he's trying to switch into Mutalisks, but 4GG has only been building Vikings and Thors for the last 2 minutes. So that's not really going to be useful.
Don't think it's going to help.
At all. He has an engineering beta. He has a few turrets up. I think 4GG is probably going to wait maybe for this second Thor and then move out. I would say he should wait for 4 Thors, but he's the kind of guy that, well, he's shown he's pretty crazy. Hellions are going to run by. He's just going to look for drones to kill.
I don't understand how he's able to do this stuff and be so successful. Like, this guy is so smart. A lot of times you see a lot of roaches out in the field and you're like, well, you know, I can't do any Hellion run-bys. No, he finds the solution, finds the way to get in here.
The Hellions also ran by the Spire as well, so if he looks back at everything he saw when he went through the base, he'll know. Like, oh, okay, yeah, well, there's the Spire. Well, turns out I already prepared for it.
He has the entire air arsenal, man. This is the new and improved armada that we've been seeing.
Yeah, actually, with the number of Vikings he has and the number of gas that Tudming has, these Vikings could actually just straight up kill Mutas, because he also has, like, +2. But again, in this low numbers, the Vikings would actually win against the Mutas.
Yeah. Well, it is also important to note that 4GG, because he went the 4 command centers really quickly, he actually doesn't have the capabilities of being able to get a lot of units super fast. He still needs to get all of his production facilities, but no worries.
He just killed all his Overlords.
I guess I'll just win with my Vikings and my Banshees.
You have no Overseers. You have no Overseers? You don't have that many Overlords to turn into Overseers? Then these Banshees are just going ham.
Yep, now they're ravaging the 3rd base. Looks like he will be cleaned up eventually, since the Vikings finally got cleaned up, but not before doing significant damage to his opponent, killing a lot of Queens and also taking out a couple of drones here. Actually, 6 drones.
There's no Overseer speed, so one of these Banshees should barely escape. Oh, the Viking came and sniped it anyway.
Didn't even need the speed upgrade, man.
Oh, man. The number of Overseers that have died this game. Sad. And he sniped 4 Overseers. Pretty good. The Roaches are going for the counterattack. The Banshees are not in position.
It's actually not too bad. We'll be able to deny this 3rd base from actually continuing to mine. Of course, losing all those Banshees definitely hurts him quite a bit, and a lot of the mobility is cut out because the production is actually really late.
It's so nice that one of the Banshees escaped those mutas, because this does give him that extra bit of firepower. The mutas show up, but there's no Overseer, so the Banshees are still safe.
Tudming is actually doing a really good job here to like come back into this game. He needs to get rid of that turret for sure, because the mutas obviously are going to
where are the Thors? He has activated. 2 coming up now. I mean, the roach count has gotten small enough to handle, to manage. There's 10 roaches on the way.
They're trapped.
Oh, they were trapped by the production?
Oh my god.
That's awkward.
That stinks.
You know, this map actually happens to me more often than others. It can be a bit tricky.
Yeah, positioning all your buildings can be
You don't
really
like grab, use like the press select all army hotkey. You're like, where are my Thors? And then they're just kind of derping off in the corner.
You're not supposed to do that, man.
No, they're not. Banshee count is still high enough to deal with the next wave of roaches, though, and he still doesn't actually have an... Okay, he got another Overseer here. He did research Overseer speed, too, but now that there's Thors to lock this down, he should be okay. More missile turrets are going to pop up, and Tudming is still on 3 bases, and actually, I would say 2.5. He only has 8 drones at the 3rd, so this is a position he can only mass units from. And by that, I mean try to mass units.
He's definitely going all in with this. He's looking for any openings right now with his roaches to actually push forward. But with siege tanks out in the field, it is very difficult to substantiate some sort of big push. 4th base taken for Terran over here, as we can see by the outline. And probably won't go up, but you know, it shows you where 4GG thinks he is in this game. This is really risky, and he might be punished really hard for this, because that's a lot of roaches. If he's able to surround this before any siege tanks actually move over there, it could be game over.
Yeah.
It's still very difficult because it's 4GG we're talking about.
Yeah, and the mutas aren't going to be as effective as they could be because they get 2-shotted by the Thors. And let's see what he can do. The Hellbats are being forced to spread out because the roaches are so well spread themselves. The Banshees are doing everything that they can. The mutas really should be trying to snipe the Banshees and not the Thors. But the Thors are just going to do short work. The missile turret is even able to contribute. And now that the mutas are dead, the Banshees, over time, are going to kill all of this anyway.
Yep. And there's just too many of them, and there's not enough anti-air in this. I liked how he actually waited for the mutas, because if you actually go in immediately, they just die to the Thors so fast. So you have to wait until that count actually thins out and then put them in a little bit later. Have your roaches try to take advantage of the ground.
Oh yeah, I think Flo was just showing us some of the roaches were actually just kind of chilling at that 3rd base, so losing control of the rallies a little bit. Trying to counter, but 4GG has there's no leaky sinks here. It's all well maintained.
Man, and now a 5th command center being thrown down.
He's not afraid. 4GG knows he's pretty much got this one in the bag. Tudming tried everything he could, but he was so far behind from the way that 4GG just honestly slapped him by sniping the Overseers and letting those Banshees do crazy amounts of damage that there's not too many more things he could try. He's just saturated the 3rd base, and now the Hellions show up.
7 immediately. More than that, of course. There was another run by, but it didn't actually do anything.
He's back to 8 drones on his 3rd.
Oh
4GG's just like, yeah, I liked it better when you were only 2.5 bases saturated.
I mean, look at the supplies right now, 172 to 112. There's nothing that 4GG could do right now for him to lose this game within reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could always kill his own army.
Yeah.
That's like the weird thing.
Within reason.
Yeah. I don't know. That might even like come up as like a bannable offense. So, you know, I think even like the Battle.net rules say you're not allowed to intentionally lose games. So 4GG be very tough, very tough.
Like, needs to be disqualified.
Realistically speaking, for Tudming to have a chance, 4GG would need to just leave him alone for like 20 minutes and not. 4GG can't expand, but Tudming also has to take like every single base and try to get some sort of death army. But I don't think it's very realistic. Like, he can try to go up to Hive, but it's going to come down to his lack of an ability to max out, because 4GG is also getting a lot of other upgrades that are like lockdown upgrades. By getting the high-sec auto-tracking, his missile turrets are more effective, his planetary fortress is more effective, auto turrets, if he ever goes to Ravens, are more effective. I'm surprised we don't have building armor yet, to be honest. I think it would be very useful as well in this scenario.
Oh, it's always useful in every scenario.
Yeah.
There's
very, very few cases where building armor is a bad upgrade.
I love when you talk building armor, Nate.
What can I say?
It's music to my ears.
It's a dirty Terran thing, you know?
It is.
So 4GG's maxed out.
Yeah.
He can pretty much do whatever. If he wants to build 5 Ghost Academies like he tried against Sen to go for nukes, I guess that's a reasonable choice as well. He's going to add another starport.
He can throw away these Hellions, no big deal.
Oh, okay, I have to imagine that 4GG must recognize that with the position that he's in, like making a big push The only thing he would have to worry about is a base trade.
Yeah.
But he has the infrastructure available to be able to survive any such thing. Either that, or he's worried that Tudming is actually not as far behind as he is. So maybe he's afraid that Tudming has a bit more than 4GG, you know, can handle. So he doesn't want to risk it. But now he's ready to make that push. Okay, with +3 attack finishing, he's going to try. So many Banshees up front, just wailing away at the front lines.
Does need to back up a little bit. Siege tanks need to siege up, and this is where the map really comes to.
Yeah, that choke point. How do you put? You can't push down.
You can't.
That's suicide.
Yeah, not a good position to be in. And even like just wrapping around corners and stuff like that, putting your siege tanks in these little nooks, it helps out so incredibly much because just moving around, getting into position, you're eating shots here and there, and your army is taking a lot of damage. Tudming trying to push in here while some siege tanks are unsieged, but man, oh man, is this a ton of damage.
+3 Banshees. They do have sick damage output. This is, you know, he's just starting to roll over him now. 4GG has 4 starports, and he could make a switch into battle cruisers if he wanted at this point. Not that he needs to.
Yeah, very inefficient trades, and the armada of Banshees moving into the 3rd base. There's not enough anti-air just yet.
4GG well poised to move on back to the round of 16 and try to make another run at the championship for WCS. Some Vipers are going to come out for Tudming. He spends the energy pulling in the Banshees, finally clears up most of them. That Spore will deal with the rest, but Viking production kicks up for 4GG. And even with some blinding clouds, it was going to be very tricky. I mean, he's at the rocks, right?
He almost killed his own hatchery.
Yeah, you could actually try to kill rocks to get the tanks, but I guess killing the tanks themselves would take less time.
Yeah, but still, he just doesn't have enough material left over. These Vipers don't have enough energy, and 4GG keeps just being relentless. Now putting damage on the hatchery, it goes down.
Yeah, 4GG trying to make this one more push so that he can bring an end to this series so he can move on to the finals for this season in Toronto. 2 Thors do get grabbed. Tudming's giving it his best shot, but the tanks push forward, and GG is called. 4GG advances 1st place out of Group B in the World Championship Series.
It was not easy, Nate, but he did go back to his dominant fashion in the ends of the series so far. I mean, it was shaky against Sen for sure, and then it was shaky in the beginning phase against Tudming here, but man, did he show dominance in these last 2 games. It was not even close. Yeah. Or, I'm sorry, this last game.
Yeah, I mean, Tudming had a really good way of dealing with the aggressive build that 4GG wanted to throw at him on Expedition Lost. He certainly watched the games that Sen played against 4GG and thought about, well, I think a faster lair will help me out a lot. It certainly did. It opened up the door for much better counterattack opportunities and also getting the mutas to stop the Banshee madness, which plagued Sen, even though he had 3 bases. Yeah. Just gave him more ground to cover. But 4GG in game number 3, I think picking the more conservative of the builds was definitely better. You know, not opening with, you know, like a 1-2 sort of thing, but a committed 2-base attack in the Banshee Hellbat, and then making that transition into mech more smoothly.
And what's nice is he's only showing really 1 build throughout all the round of 32. It sets him up really nicely for the round of 16, in my opinion, where he can really change it up because he looks very predictable, but we know 4GG on his stream, he's capable of so many different things. So he hasn't showcased anything to his opponents.
I don't even think he cares if he's predictable. like anybody really could just go to his Twitch channel and just look at his VODs. He doesn't. I don't even think he hides those.
No.
If you're a sub, he'll send out replays. Like you could just like all his opponents for round of 16s. It's like, well, I might have to play versus him, so let's just get some replays. Like he doesn't care.
It goes back to like game 1 of this series where I'm sure Tudming practices that hatchery sunken or spine-crawler rush a lot, right? He practices with friends, he practices with teammates, and he's like, okay, let me try this out. He has a really high win rate.
Yeah.
And 4GG was basically hard countered, and he still was able to survive and win.
That's something I'd actually really like to hear his thoughts on. He's on the main stage with Sue right now. Let's hear what he has to say.
Well, we're right about to find out. Nathanius, congratulations 4GG on making it to the round of 16. That in and of itself is not so surprising, but maybe it wasn't as easy to get here as you might have expected.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Tudming is very good player. Before I meet him, this time I didn't expect his play like this, but he's really good.
Well, specifically speaking, games 1 and 2 were quite interesting. Game 1, you had an incredible hold. It was very, very clutch. And Game 2 didn't go in your favor. You looked quite disappointed after that game. So walk us through both of those games.
First game, I just thinking about middle micro, and suddenly my base have creep and a lot of queen, and I almost give up, but I don't know. I think he mistake. He lost queen and one bench kill all his unit. So I defense, and second game was, I think he expect my build, so he easy defense, and I just lose build order, and yeah, that's all.
Well, now you're in the round of 16, which means you will be going to Toronto to the Season 2 finals. In the past 3 WCS seasons, you've made it to the top 8. What are your personal goals for coming into Toronto, and are you excited to see the Toronto fans?
Yes, I'm very exciting. I never visit Torrent, and my goal this time, I really want to do final.
All right, well, congratulations again, and we'll see you in Toronto next. We'll see who joins 4GG in the round 16 of Group B. It'll be either Stardust or Tudming, a rematch of Game 1 of today's group, so we'll find out after this break.
I move objects with my mind. I climb the tallest mountains and slay dragons. I defend my galaxy from ruthless aliens. I am never bored. I am stronger. I am faster. I am G1.
everyone, and welcome back to the World Championship Series Premier League. Of course, we are in Group B, and we just saw that 4GG moved on to the round of 16, and unfortunately, Sen is out.
Oh, it makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. Of course, it's great for 4GG because I love the guy. I've loved him since StarCraft Brood War. I've also loved Sen since StarCraft Brood War, so it's really bittersweet for me to see one move on and one kind of fall. But if there's one thing that you have to do in your life, it's not play for a GSL, it's not travel all around the world, it's play in front of the Toronto crowd. And that's exactly what 4GG will be doing.
Absolutely. The Canadian fans, I have seen them twice before, and they are so passionate, so fantastic. If you guys have not gotten your tickets yet, the second wave is on sale, so I believe it is right here. Make sure to go to that link and get your tickets if you missed out, because it'll be absolutely fantastic. And we're about to find out who will join 4GG in the round of 16. We have two players that are fighting for that final spot in Group B. It is going to be Stardust and Two doing a rematch of Game 1, which is interesting on many different levels because on the one hand there is the mind games. Who knows what Stardust has been doing? He's been prepping. Tudming just got off his game against 4GG. What do you think, Returb?
It's interesting. It's definitely a momentum switch for both these guys. They were starting at neutral. Now Stardust, he lost the first one and then won the second one, so he feels good. Whereas Tudming, he just got off of a very crushing loss to 4GG. So I can understand how, you know, Tudming kind of feels bad about it, but at the same time, he's like, I already did it once, let's do it again.
Well, talking about Stardust, we've seen him play only against Zerg players today, and that works out in his favor as he said that he didn't want to play against 4GG, but based off of what you saw in his gameplay against Zergs, what is something that he's done very well and that he should stick to in this last game against Tudming?
I think it just comes down to his overall decision making, when he actually wants to push forward, how he understands the meta, and he reads his opponent. He shouldn't be going into these coin flipping situations where he's just doing an all-in. He shouldn't be going into these situations where, you know, he's putting himself in a precarious macro situation where he can't defend all of his bases. Just play completely standard, have no holes, and you will be able to just out-decision make your opponent.
Well, on the flip side, we have Tudming, who's been very impressive today. I think a lot of people who may have not known who he is have been very pleasantly surprised and are now fans of his. He's shown really great gameplay, and it's just a shame that it's come down to these two players that only one of them can move forward, but you know, the dynamic is he beat Stardust earlier on in the day. Do you think that gives him an advantage because he has the confidence knowing he's beaten him before, or do you think it's a disadvantage because now Stardust can learn from his mistakes? Yeah,
it's weird because the Stardust that we saw in the beginning of the day was not the same Stardust that was brought to the Series 2, or the Series 3 rather. And that kind of makes things a little bit weird because it's like I was playing against a different Stardust. This Stardust has a much better goal in mind. And that might lend itself to, honestly, Tudming doing some crazy stuff. Like we saw the hatchery Spinecrawler push in his series against 4GG. I wouldn't be surprised if we have something like that, or, you know, off-the-wall type of plays where he's just trying to take decisive wins and put Stardust on tilt a little bit.
All right, Greetzer, putting you on the spot. Is it going to be Stardust, who, despite showing that he is immortal today, he has shown that he's not maybe the WCS champion, DreamHack champion he's been before. He still has that under his belt. Whereas Tudming doesn't have all of that, but has been very impressive.
You know,
choose one.
As well as Stardust has been playing in Series number 2, I'm going to give it to Tudming. His accomplishments are really high up there. Even though we haven't seen him that much, he's playing well. He has good decision making. He took it to a close series with 4GG. I'm going with Tudming.
All right, well, it's time to find out which one of these players will move on to join 4GG in the round of 16. It'll be Nathanius and Huck, so take it away.
Thank you very much, Sue. I am so excited. I'm Nathanius here with me. Here's Huck ready to start off the first series of the day. It's going to be Tudming versus Stardust. What are you thinking for this first match, Huck?
Oh, man.
It does feel like deja vu, though.
Yeah, a little bit, man. Love is in the air. I think Stardust is going to take it this time. That's what I'm going to go for. I mean, I haven't been wrong yet.
Oh,
so,
well,
I mean,
you know what? I
was
gonna like try to give some sort of devil's advocate argument to try to make things interesting, but if you haven't been wrong,
yeah, Cleopatra over here, man.
I might as well. Oh yes, you had the crystal ball. I forgot.
Yeah,
so I'll disagree with you. So, but it does help that Stardust has the momentum of taking that series against Sen. When honestly, a couple moments it looked like there were definitely places where Sen could have picked it up if he had changed a few things. But Tudming, I still think, and 4GG told me when I talked to him before he played him, he felt that Tudming was a player that, based on all the performance and the history about them, is a stronger player than Sen. So it still could.
I think it's going to be pretty close. That's
Yeah,
for sure. I would
that's what I'm
expect a
hoping
2-1. I think it's going to go down to the third map, and I already know what Stardust is going to do on the third map because I helped him plan it.
Oh, really?
And I think he's going to win in a very Huck fashion at that.
Oh.
Are you hyped?
Eight gateways?
Please, let's just get to that third map. That's all I want.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Ocho build. So we're starting on Cactus Valley. Stardust wanted this map. Why did you tell him to pick this map, Huck?
I mean, I wasn't there when they did the vetoes. I didn't tell him to pick the map, but I don't know. I think he feels comfortable now on this map, now that he played it and he won a game on it versus Sen. I would expect him to play pretty macro-oriented for most of the games, except for Expedition Loss, which I'm still hyped for.
All right. Well, that's pretty bold.
I mean, it's
claim.
going to be horrible, you know? He gets there, he does some Huck build, he loses horribly, and then I just got to hide my
And
shame for
then
the
he
next
tweets
week.
out #blame Huck.
Yeah.
And then everything just spirals out of control.
I lose all credibility as a caster.
Man, you're going on the record with this one.
Yeah, soon TM,
You
man.
you gotta learn to step toe between the lines.
Yeah, I gotta be less edgy. Just I picked both players. I think they're great, and I think they're gonna do well, and they're gonna show good games.
I'm totally on Tudming's side for this one, man.
Really?
Yeah.
You're gonna pick.
He's balling out of control.
Okay. Let's bet dinner? Huh?
What?
Something?
Maybe.
Maybe. Right. Unofficially, but officially.
Unofficially, officially, dinner.
Yeah. Okay.
I like Tudming a lot. I think his form is still really good, and really 4GG I think is a level above everyone else in this group enough that it shouldn't put you down to lose to him, because he made it the furthest out of considering that two of these players weren't even premier contenders last season, he made it way further than Sen. Like, the history alone speaks for itself.
Yeah, of course. I think Tudming went into the match. I mean, obviously you don't want to go into a game thinking like, I'm just going to lose this. But I think he went into it thinking, I'm going to do my best and hopefully I win. But if I don't, I think I can beat the two players that are left, whoever comes.
Well, Tudming did roll the dice a bit against 4GG. Yeah. I don't expect him to do something like that against Stardust. Well, I don't even think that gold bases are that much rolling the dice anymore anyway. But I don't expect to see like a similar type of proxy hatch. And the build that he actually prepared for, that 4GG threw at him, he handled really, really well on Expedition Lost when he played him there. So if he's been paying close attention to the way that Stardust played against Sen, if he plays in any similar manner, I still think that Tudming can make the adjustments necessary to deal with a Stardust who's playing better than he did, this morning.
At the beginning, yes, of course. And that's the biggest thing right now for Tudming. I think Tudming's played pretty consistently, the same skill level he was since the first set, but Stardust has gained a little bit of more momentum, and I think that's what's going to make this a lot closer. What a stylish keyboard. Look at that. It's Halloween now.
Everything about him is stylish, Hawk.
It's like a rainbow.
Yeah.
Head to toe here.
I imagine that, like, I don't know. I mean, if he could pick colors like other than the regular red and blue, I'm sure he'd be like the one guy that's like lobbying for the purple or playing the teal, Zerg looks pretty weird with teal.
TL? Or
Teal.
Teal?
Teal.
Teal. Yeah, definitely. I think teal's kind of a, Terran or Protoss color?
Teal's definitely a Terran color.
Think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
What color do you think Protoss is best in? If Stardust could pick any color, which one would give him the most energy?
Blue, I think, is a strong Protoss color. When I think of Zerg, I think like orange, brown, maybe even
Red.
purple.
I think red works for Zerg too.
Yeah. I think it goes back to Brood War
I think
days.
Protoss is really good with green as well.
Let's just keep bringing up Brood War days.
Yeah.
Make
You
feel
and
uncomfortable.
Greetorp, man.
Yeah. Brood War.
I don't know. Only Brood War I know is Diplomacy 7.7.
I love the use map settings in Brood War.
Yeah.
So we can bond over that.
I was top Greece.
I mean, I love them
Pennsylvania.
in StarCraft 2 too.
Yeah. Well, Diplo never took off, so my programming career kind of spiraled
Went
down
downhill.
after that.
No.
But this is still a really important match for these two guys, because especially considering that Tudming played and qualified for like the Chinese region. This is a part of what he does normally. Stardust had to make the big move to come here and play WCS and live and practice in America now. This is, I think, this is like a heavier loss for him if he loses than it is for Tudming, who, it would be disappointing for him and his Chinese fans, but it wouldn't be like the most earth-shattering thing.
Yeah, Stardust has sacrificed a lot. I mean, I think he missed this first season probably because he was working on his visa and he had to make that choice then. So this is kind of make or break. I mean, if you get eliminated here, he doesn't have like really that many other tournaments he's playing in, where I'm sure in China and even Taiwan or that area in general, there is a lot of smaller tournaments that Toonming has been playing in, or even online cups.
Yeah, it makes it really tricky. Well, yeah, a lot of the Chinese players especially, you know, they've been playing a lot into the Li Fang Cup, the Kung Fu Cup as well, and I believe most of those tournaments are hosted over in Asia, or at least run by Chinese or Korean organizations. So that's the sort of thing. Like they have regular stuff that they're doing, but Stardust will really have to adjust a lot in the way that he practices and prepares, especially if he were to lose. That would really exacerbate things. So
yeah, pressure's on for both of them, but I'm going to be pulling for my boy here, Stardust, a little bit more.
Yeah. We're just getting everything sorted out so that we can move in and get the lobby set up for the game. But all other things aside, how do you like Protoss versus Zerg in general right now? Do you feel the direction that it's moved since the Swarmhost patch is something that's is it gonna be a trend that sticks around? Like most Protoss avoiding Colossi and whatnot?
Yeah, I think slowly but surely we're gonna pull away from Colossi just because Vipers are much more popular now, and then on top of that, the biggest threat other than that would be Mutalisk. It's gonna be interesting how fast the Asian players can adapt and bring in this Viper/Infestor style that we saw yesterday. Betrayus is one of the best players I've ever played against that does that style really well, the combination of those two spells. And as we talked about the stylistic things and the differences between Europeans and the Asian players, is that they don't really catch on to that meta as quickly. But on top of that, Broodlords being a big thing PvZ late game now as well, with the Tempest nerf and potentially a Broodlord buff to 11 range.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that gets things really weird. I mean, I don't really dislike it, to be honest. It gives you a little bit more leeway, a little bit more movement.
Yeah, I think when the patch first hit and the Swarmhosts were basically nerfed in a lot of ways, they're not used as the bread and butter of Zerg playstyle. A lot of Zergs were worried, but I mean, Zergs are still being very successful at all levels, even here or in Korea. And Toonming showing that he can play a very strong style without Swarmhosts.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the thing. Everybody has to be able to do that now, because a lot of Zerg players would have hinged their playstyles on it. I even think we would have seen Betrayus busted out against Bunny in yesterday's games. Just a quick update, guys. We're just there was some sort of hiccup with the way that the veto process was done. Both players have agreed to fix this, so they're just going to take a minute to redo the vetoes really quickly. But
I bet you we still see Expedition Lost in there.
Really?
Yep.
What if it was all a mind game?
For me, like Stardust is mind gaming me?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Stardust mind gamed you. It's like, yeah, because he knew that you would talk about it, and then someone would like message him on Battle.net. It's like, yo, Huck said online, he said, don't play Expedition Lost. Have you thought about the consequences of your actions, Chris, as a caster?
It's too late, man. I thought it was locked in already, but I think it's fine. You
All
won't
right.
see Stardust veto Expedition Lost. We're going to actually shoutcast these vetoes.
Yeah.
All right,
Toonming has re-vetoed Echo.
And he's player A, so now Stardust gets 2 vetoes.
Yep.
And he vetoes...
Inferno Pools and Vonnie Research Station.
No, Expedition Lost vetoed. And Toonming actually vetoes Cactus. So we will see Expedition Lost at some point.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So that means that the last couple of maps that are available, Iron Fortress, Coda, and Expedition Lost.
Mm-hmm.
So which one does... Well, do you think Stardust won't pick Expedition Lost if he wants to play last? To do the Huck build?
I don't think he necessarily wants to save it for last, although I would prefer that just for like that intense drama.
Game 3,
yeah.
It's all on the 8 gate.
1-to-1. Can he do it? Oh, Coda first. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah. Stardust picks Coda.
No Expedition Lost, please. Pick Toonming.
Toonming. Expedition Lost. Well, if Stardust loses the first map, I don't know if he's going to put his WCS Season 2...
2-0 win. 2-0 win.
2-0?
That's what it's going to be now. I'm changing it because this Expedition Lost.
Because he has to do it to do the Huck build.
Yeah. So it's going to be a 2-0 win.
You don't think he'll do it if he's down 0-1?
I think he'd still do it if he's... I mean, yeah.
Is it that good?
It's not like game breaking. It's not going to be like Proxy, Tempest, Kevin.
Proxy Carrier? No, nothing crazy like that?
No, nothing Kevin like.
No Roddy builds this day?
Unfortunately. Maybe some Roddy Micro, but
yeah.
No
well,
Roddy
I mean,
builds.
that means it's early aggression. If you only have a handful of units, that's the rule for Roddy Micro.